Yo, Atlas speaking and welcome to part 2 of What If I Was Reborn in Jujutsu Kaisen as Toji Zenin's brother and obtain the 8 gates. Let the tale begin. Chapter 26, The Strongest Special Grade. Slurp, slurp. In a small ramen shop in Shibuya, Zen'in Shinsuke and Kyusuke Batsuya were hunched over steaming bowls of noodles. It's been 3 days already, Kyusuke muttered between bites. Not a single trace. You think that cursed spirit already left? They had swept the area thoroughly, 3 whole days of patrolling. Forget a special grade, they hadn't even run into anything remotely challenging. And from the reports, it wasn't like the other sectors were having any luck either. Relax, Shinsuke said casually, slurping his noodles with relish. Just think of it as a few days of sightseeing on the schools tab. What's the rush? Kyusuke paused, then gave a wry smile. Fair point. If this keeps up, the higher-ups will probably call off the mission anyway. Might as well enjoy the downtime while it lasts. He leaned closer, curiosity flashing in his eyes. Oh, right, Shinsuke-sensei. I heard you've got a thing for strong cursed spirits. You must be dying to find this special grade, huh? It was a rumor Kyusuke had overheard back at Jujutsu High. The most striking impression everyone seemed to have of Zen'in Shinsuke was his obsession with exorcising powerful cursed spirits. Supposedly, it all came from the fact that he was born without cursed energy. That hunger to challenge strong opponents, to prove himself that even without cursed energy, he was no less than any sorcerer. Shinsuke shrugged. It's not that deep. I'm just curious how strong a special grade really is. In truth, he knew of many special grades. But outside of Geto's Tamamonome manifestation and the recent glimpse of Rika, he had never actually faced one head-on. Before Kyusuke could press further, the intercom device on their table crackled to life. Hello? Can everyone hear me? I'm with Mei-san, we've located the special grade cursed spirit. We've set up camp and, No, Mei-san. Watch out! A deafening boom cut the transmission, followed by nothing but static. Yutaheim. Kyusuke's face hardened. Just moments ago he'd been grumbling about the lack of progress, and now, this. Shinsuke-sensei, we've got to move. Shinsuke-sensei? He turned, and froze. The seat next to him was empty. Shinsuke was already gone. You call that being a little curious? Kyusuke groaned, hastily throwing money on the counter before rushing out after him. Meanwhile, in another part of Shibuya, Satoru Gojo also caught the transmission. But unlike the others, he didn't immediately make a move. Instead, his gaze lingered on the man standing across from him. A faint trace of nostalgia flickered in his eyes. Do you really plan to keep walking this dark path? Gojo asked quietly. It's not too late to turn back. The man's lips curved into a familiar smile. Satoru, what are you talking about? This path I've chosen, it's the only one that leads to the light. Suguru Geto's face carried a faint smile. Ever since devoting himself fully to his cause, life had become almost effortless. Each day, his goal was clear. Expand his influence, and expand it further still. Once he had gathered enough strength, he would wipe out every non-sorcerer in the world. Only then would he truly realize his vision, a world where no cursed spirits could ever exist again. And when that day came, he believed Satoru Gojo would eventually understand him. Enough chatting, Satoru. I'm going to absorb that cursed spirit now. Geto had, of course, heard the message from Gojo's radio. That spirit was his true target. Special grade curses were rare, and one capable of rapid growth was rarer still. Securing it was crucial for his next steps. Geto, you think I'll just let you go? Gojo blocked his path, his gaze unwavering. Whatever their past bond, right now they stood on opposite sides. Geto refused to turn back, and Gojo could not allow him to keep walking this path. With a sharp snap of his fingers, several figures emerged around them, members of Geto's faction. He had long expected Gojo to stand in his way, and his preparations were thorough. Just stall him. With that, Geto's body blurred into motion, rushing toward the special grades location. Gojo's eyes hardened. He moved to give chase, but an attack intercepted him. Geto's followers scattered, peppering him with long-range interference. They didn't need to defeat him, they couldn't defeat him, they just needed to buy time. For an instant, murderous intent flickered in Gojo's heart. He considered going all out, erasing them in a flash, and catching up to Geto. But the thought passed as quickly as it came. Looking at their tense, desperate faces, his expression softened into a cold smile. Geto, so you even accounted for this. But that cursed spirit, you still won't get it. Because Jujutsu High had more than just him. Meanwhile, across Shibuya, a massive curtain sealed off an area. It barred civilians while preventing panic from spreading. Boom! A violent explosion erupted inside. A burst of fire hurled Mei back through the air. She twisted mid-flight, landing in a controlled backflip. Mei! Yudaheim's face was pale with worry as she rushed forward, desperate to check on her. Stay back. Everyone, fall back. Mei barked sharply. Her grip tightened around her enormous axe, eyes locked on the looming silhouette emerging from the flames. You humans are far too weak. From the fire strode a humanoid curse at least 3 meters tall. Its body was sheathed in black scales over corded muscle, seams glowing with molten blue liquid that crackled with arcs of electricity. A long tail dragged behind it, gouging the ground. Where eyes should have been, 2 black, backward curving horns jutted forward. Its sheer presence radiated crushing strength. Even that man is no match for me now. It sneered at the assembled sorcerers, their auras insignificant in its perception. Having already undergone one evolution, it no longer feared even the one who scarred it before. On the contrary, it craved another fight with him. To defeat him and ascend again. This was a special grade born with terrifying talent and an insatiable hunger for strength. Mei's lips pressed into a thin line. She seriously considered dropping the mission right there. This thing was far beyond their ability to handle. One first-grade sorcerer, a support-type semi-first grade, and a few grade 2s? They wouldn't last minutes. She'd faced special grades before, but none as overwhelmingly powerful as this. This level demanded a special grade sorcerer, at minimum. Yudaheim. Get ready to retreat. Her decision was made, hold out for a few minutes. If reinforcements didn't arrive, she'd abandon the payout. Money could be earned again. If she lost her life, who would spend it? Yudaheim heard the weight in her voice and knew this enemy was beyond them. She had already activated her solo forbidden zone, boosting her allies' cursed energy and output. And still, they were utterly outclassed. Worse, she could feel it wasn't even serious yet. It was toying with them. Got it. Yudaheim nodded firmly. If things went south, they had only one choice. Retreat. Chapter 27, On the Brink, Reinforcements Arrive. The cursed spirit advanced step by step toward Mei, its lips curling into a grin as it reveled in the ecstasy of its own power. Humans, amuse me to your fullest. Boom! Its legs detonated against the ground, shattering the pavement as its body blurred forward like a thunderbolt. One arm cocked back, fists blazing with lightning so bright it seared the eyes. Mei steadied her axe and muttered under her breath. Hope the others get here soon. There was no other option, she had to meet it head-on. Clang! Steel met flesh. Her massive axe crashed against its fist, the clash ringing like a bell. But the lightning that surged through the blow numbed half her body instantly. The raw strength hurled her through the air, forcing her to crash roll across the ground. Completely outmatched. Her breathing turned ragged, her face pale. Feeling the numbness spreading through her limbs, she knew. If she didn't run now, she wouldn't get the chance later. Oh? What's wrong, human? That's all you've got? I haven't even tried yet. The curse roared with mad delight, lunging again. Its thunderclad fist came crashing down. Mei Mei parried with her axe, while secretly activating her innate technique, Blackbird Manipulation. Your martial arts aren't bad, human. Now hurry, show me your technique. Its expression twisted into mania. It had a peculiar obsession, studying sorcerers' techniques to fuel its own evolution. My technique? Oh, it's pathetically weak. But if you really want to see it. Mei Mei deflected another blow, her tone dry with sarcasm. If her cursed technique had been strong, she never would have pushed her body this far into brutal hand-to-hand mastery. Still, weak or not, she had one trick worth showing. Kicking back to gain distance, Mei Mei snapped her fingers. Kamaitachi! Swish! A crow shot forth like a bullet, faster than the eye could follow, its speed eclipsing the sound barrier. The cursed spirit's instinct screamed. It jerked its head aside. Bang! Half its skull exploded in a spray of blood and lightning. Had it not flinched at the last instant, the shot would have taken its head clean off. TCH. Just a little more and it would have been over, Mei Mei muttered, disappointment flashing in her eyes. Still, that should make things easier. Her self-destructive crow attack was something she trusted completely. Any ordinary special grade would have been exorcised on the spot. But this one was anything but ordinary. Ha 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 ha. You actually hurt me, human. The spirit's glee grew feverish. Its shattered skull knit back together in seconds. Lightning swirled and condensed into its hand, forging a cross-shaped sword of pure electricity. The currents dancing across its black scales flared brighter, its cursed energy pressing down like a suffocating storm. Mei Mei's brows furrowed. This is bad. Cursed spirits already healed quickly by nature. But a special grade like this? There was no hope of wearing it down. Even if every first-grade sorcerer here fought together, it would make no difference. This one demanded a special grade to handle. Yudaheim. Fall back. Mei Mei barked, leaping into a retreat. Money be damned. Staying alive came first. Running, human? Where do you think you're going? The towering curse flashed like lightning itself, reappearing behind her. Its thundersword raised high, its grin feral. So long as she had fought, it had indulged her. But to flee? There was only one punishment. Mei Mei! Yudaheim's pupils shrank, her chest seizing. Against such overwhelming might, how could they possibly win? Damn! And I didn't even save enough money yet. Mei Mei's thoughts turned bitterly rueful as the blade descended. At least she'd left enough behind for her brother to live comfortably. That was her only comfort. Finally found you. A shadow streaked from above, descending like a meteor. A single arm, veins bulging like coiled dragons, gripped a crimson staff, Playful Cloud, the legendary special grade curse tool. Wham! The curse turned in alarm just as the staff crashed into its body, bending it like a bow and hurling it through several buildings and a cascade of collapsing rubble. Another flower of youth nearly wilted. You all right? Zen'in Shinsuke stood before Mei Mei, staff still humming with impact. He glanced at her, noting how she struggled even to lift her axe. Ha, still breathing. Barely. Damn near died back there. If the higher-ups don't triple the pay for this, I swear I'll make a scene. Mei Mei dragged herself up, her body tingling with lingering paralysis. Mei Mei! Yudaheim rushed over, catching her arm, face etched with worry. Don't fret, little Yudaheim. I'm fine. Mei Mei leaned on her for balance, forcing a smirk. Zen'in Shinsuke hefted Playful Cloud and stepped forward. You two, get clear. This one's mine. Zen'in Shinsuke smirked as the cursed spirit rose from the rubble. Finally, a special grade, and not just any ordinary one. Be careful, this one isn't simple. Mei Mei quickly warned. So that's why, no cursed energy. No wonder I didn't sense it. The cursed spirit stepped out of the ruins, the mangled flesh on its head knitting back together. Having its skull smashed twice in a row left it simmering with rage. A human with no cursed energy? Better think carefully about how you want to die. It gripped the lightning sword tightly and swung. A thunderous arc of lightning ripped from the blade, cleaving toward Shinsuke. Boom! With a casual sweep of playful cloud, Shinsuke shattered the bolt apart. Another cursed spirit that looks down on people. He slid playful cloud together into a single staff and blurred forward, closing the gap in an instant. If he hesitated, someone else might claim this prey. He wasn't about to let Emil walk away. Humph. So your only trick is speed. Lightning flared violently across the cursed spirit's body as it clashed with Shinsuke. Their figures flickered like afterimages, colliding again and again, shaking the earth, soaring into the sky, then crashing back down. Gulp. Mei-senpai, should we help him? Iori Yutaheim swallowed hard, her eyes wide at the sight of Shinsuke holding his own against such a formidable special grade. So this aloof old man was this strong? How? Your technique is useless against him. Mei shot her a look. He had no cursed energy, Yutaheim's support techniques were meaningless. And Mei herself was injured, unable to contribute. As for the grade 2 and lower sorcerers nearby, it was a miracle if they didn't just get in the way. Right. Yutaheim realized, belatedly, that Shinsuke didn't have cursed energy. By the way, wasn't Kusakabe-sensei supposed to be paired with him? Where is he? Ha, ha, ha. I'm here at last. Just as Yutaheim voiced her doubt, Kusakabe arrived, gasping for breath. After a frantic sprint and reckless driving, he had barely made it. Seeing Shinsuke already locked in battle with the special grade, he couldn't help but grumble. Did Shinsuke-sensei fly here or something? How are you two holding up, Yutaheim, Mei? Are you safe? Kusakabe asked quickly. If Shinsuke-sensei had been even 1 second later, you wouldn't be seeing us right now, Yutaheim said, giving him the quick rundown of what had happened. This cursed spirit's really that strong? Kusakabe muttered, glancing at Shinsuke, attacking with a manic grin plastered on his face, and the special grade spirit struggling to keep up. His thoughts grew heavy. Wait a second, isn't Shinsuke-sensei just fighting because he wants to kill the cursed spirit? What proof, what reputation? This doesn't look like he's trying to prove himself at all. Chapter 28, Domain Expansion, Evolution. Human! You are strong. But still, you are no match for me. The cursed spirit roared, its wounds knitting together as it advanced. Lightning crackled between its scales. Die! It brandished its blade and the clouds above churned, summoning dragon-like arcs of lightning that crackled like divine punishment, crashing downward toward Shinsuke. Shinsuke darted and dodged. With his body strength, he could probably tank the strikes without immediate mortal damage, but that was unnecessary. He was thinking instead how to land a single decisive blow. This cursed spirit was no lesser than the 4 disaster curses. Born with talent on par with the true man and wielding lightning, its potential was terrifying. If left unchecked, one day it could reach the level of Sukuna. Very few cursed spirits ever pursued strength so relentlessly. This is troublesome. Shinsuke felt a twinge of impatience. Normally he might toy with such an opponent. But not now. Geto Suguru or Gojo Satoru could arrive any moment. At that point, the spoils would be harder to claim. He glanced down at playful cloud in his hand. Maybe he should have snagged a few more cursed tools from Toji earlier. Playful cloud was strong, but in face of high defenses, speed, and rapid regeneration, what he really needed was the soul liberation blade to decisively kill this kind of opponent. Ha 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 ha. Human! Feel my power now. The cursed spirit jeered, its voice wild. You, with no cursed energy, you are nothing but a tool in my evolution. You cannot even help me, you don't even know any cursed technique. You might as well prepare to die. With that, it declared, domain expansion. Was it Sushin Raiden? Using nearby buildings as structural anchors, it manifested a domain that enveloped Shinsuke. Endless thunder raged within the realm. A gigantic gate of lightning, like the door to the heavens, opened above, lightning dragons roaring to life at its command. Setting up the domain barrier using the buildings isn't the worst idea, Shinsuke observed, calm in his stance. He wasn't panicked. If he wished, he could exit the floor structure and leave the domain. Although the domain was powerful, its guarantee hit effect did nothing against him. If not for the fact the cursed spirit used the buildings as the shell, its domain wouldn't be able to contain him. I know you are special. So before you even think about escaping, I'll kill you. Inside the domain, lightning surged. Any move by the cursed spirit would draw it into the storm unless it could withstand immense lightning damage and throw off Shinsuke's assault. The spirit seemed confident, believing it had the upper hand. Shinsuke's lips curled into a cruel smile. You're not too dumb, but don't pretend you're smart. He could just wait the domain out, let its effects fade, force the cursed spirit into its technique's cooldown, then pick apart its weakened form. No curse technique? Then maybe this is your end. He approached at blistering speed, leaving streaks of crackling energy in his wake. What? The cursed spirit's eyes flickered in alarm. It did not expect him to absorb or stand against its thunder. Clenching playful cloud, Shinsuke said with vicious satisfaction, I forgot to mention, my body resists techniques rather well. Boom! He swung playful cloud, hurling the cursed spirit through the air. Lightning rushed after, but most was blocked by the staff, only a sliver of electricity grazed Shinsuke. The strength granted by heaven and the binding bonds made his body almost immune. Though his clothes were torn to shreds, the pain was superficial. You're probably the first one I've seen get hit inside your own domain. Shinsuke launched another strike, overwhelming the cursed spirit. Its speed lagged, it was reduced to evasion and retreat. Its regeneration started to lag behind the injuries. Crack! Crack! Outside the barrier, Kusakabe had drawn a long blade, hacking at the domain's edges. The domain was strong, but its outer shell was weaker. Hang in there, Shinsuke-sensei. I'm coming to pull you out. Bang! With a final slash, Kusakabe shattered the domain's barrier. Shinsuke-sensei. Holy! The moment the barrier broke, a massive 3-meter figure was hurled straight at him. Kusakabe barely managed to sidestep before it smashed into the street. Boom! The cursed spirit's body crashed into another building, sending cracked spider webbing through its structure until the whole floor tilted, on the verge of collapse. From the rubble, Zen'in Shinsuke emerged shirtless, playful cloud resting casually on his shoulder. Ah, Kusakabe-sensei. Thanks for breaking the domain. Had the barrier not been destroyed from the outside, he might have already finished off the cursed spirit, but Kusakabe meant well, so Shinsuke let it slide. Gulp! Shinsuke-sensei, need my help? Kusakabe asked, his eye twitching. The scene before him suggested quite the opposite. No need. Leave it to me. Just wait. Clatter! From within the ruins, the cursed spirit rose once more. Its injuries, even those from moments ago, had healed almost completely. It was like watching an immortal cockroach. Human! Its eyes gleamed with feverish excitement. Through its beatings, it had sensed the path to evolution. It already had cursed energy. It already had techniques. What it lacked was the perfect body, an indestructible vessel. If I could possess his body's strength, with my techniques, I would become the strongest. Its form shifted. Power surged. 6 wings sprouted from its back, thin like cicada wings, but edged with golden lightning veins sparking with energy. The armor across its body tightened, compressing into denser plating. Its frame grew slightly smaller, yet the muscles became compact and solid. It had evolved. Boom! The 6 wings snapped open, hurling it forward like a thunderbolt. Lightning crackled around its fist as it struck straight at Shinsuke. Though it still lacked a refined technique, its cursed energy had surged back, and its speed and power had skyrocketed with this evolution. Clang! Its punch met Playful Cloud head-on, releasing an explosion of black-red lightning. Shinsuke frowned as he was forced several meters back. He glanced down at his weapon. Playful Cloud had snapped off a section. His heart clenched. That cursed tool had been worth 500 million yen. Ha ha ha. This power, magnificent. The cursed spirit's laughter was manic. It had believed the human useless to its growth, but now it realized the opposite. As long as I feel pressure, I can grow stronger. What the hell? Kusakabe, having retreated back near Yutaheim and the others, was pale with disbelief. Did that cursed spirit just trigger Black Flash? That was insanity. A cursed spirit using Black Flash was beyond comprehension. Yutaheim bit her lip. Now what? Why hasn't Gojo shown up yet? Looks like I've arrived just in time. From the far side of the battlefield, Suguru Geto appeared. His eyes lit up at the cursed spirit's evolved form. It's even stronger now. I knew I wasn't wrong about you. My grand plan will succeed, with you as the cornerstone. For the first time, he felt it. Absorbing this cursed spirit would mean his dream was already half fulfilled. Chapter 29, 5 Gates Unleashed. Brutality. This time, you're not getting away. Geto Suguru activated his cursed spirit manipulation, releasing dozens of powerful cursed spirits, one of which was a special grade. So it was you. Now, I definitely won't lose. The cursed spirit turned to face Geto with absolute confidence. It could feel the overwhelming strength coursing through itself. Is that so? Geto smirked. The stronger the opponent, the more excited he became. Bringing along members of his Geto faction hadn't been for nothing. Oi, brat Geto, this prey is mine. Don't even think about stealing it. Otherwise, I'll just feed your cursed spirits to it instead. Zen'in Shinsuke picked up a broken piece of Playful Cloud, glaring at Geto. You again? Geto's expression soured. Memories of when Shinsuke snatched away his Yamazara King resurfaced instantly. This time, I won't let you take my prize. Ignoring Shinsuke's warning, Geto commanded his swarm of spirits to charge the special grade. Ruhar! Come, yes, make me even stronger. The special grade howled, hurling itself into the horde, smashing fists into cursed bodies. It longed to recreate its devastating attack. TCH. And yet I'm the one accused of stealing prey? Shinsuke glanced at Playful Cloud in his hands. Should he follow Toji's method and sharpen it to a lethal edge? But that would destroy a 500 million yen cursed tool. No. I'll get it repaired. Might even hand it down to Maki one day. Deciding, Shinsuke blurred forward, appearing beside Kusakabe's group, tossing him the broken weapon. Teacher Kusakabe, hold on to this for me. Using a one-time strategy like Toji's wasn't ideal. Oh, okay. Kusakabe took the blood-stained weapon, dazed. Then, what do we do now? Retreat? Or wait for Gojo to arrive? This spirit wouldn't fall so easily. It had even pulled off Black Flash. Once its technique burnout ended, it would recover, becoming even more terrifying. At worst, they could leave the cursed spirit to Geto. It would at least prevent casualties. Or, they could stall until Gojo showed up to finish it. Hearing this, Shinsuke's gaze shifted from Kusakabe to Yutaheim and Mei. You're right. We've got injured. We need to pull back. He then walked toward Mei, eyeing the massive axe at her side. That axe of yours, it's a cursed tool too, right? Mind if I borrow it? Playful Cloud was powerful, but blunt. A sharp weapon would save strength. Use it however you want. Break it, I won't make you pay. Mei handed it over without hesitation. A single axe meant nothing compared to the life debt she owed him. Thanks. Shinsuke stretched, gripping the axe, eyes gleaming at the chaotic melee in the distance. Geto, I gave you a chance. Since it wasn't appreciated, he saw no reason to hold back. Time to end this. With a tremor, a surge of blistering heat erupted from him. Gate of limit, open. In an instant, Shinsuke forced open 5 gates at once. Violent blood chi flooded his body, muscles swelling, skin turning crimson, veins bulging grotesquely. The overwhelming aura blasted Kusakabe and the others several meters back. Boom! With a single toe tap, the ground within meters caved in, spiderweb cracks spreading outward. In the next heartbeat, Shinsuke was already among the cursed spirits. Die! The axe swung. His figure split into afterimages, weaving between the horde. Bang! 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 In just seconds, every cursed spirit, including the special grade, was reduced to chunks of flesh, bursting apart into clouds of blood mist. Impossible? Kusakabe's group hadn't even processed what happened before the battlefield was drenched red. What the hell just? Geto's face twisted, instantly recalling his special grade cursed spirit back to his side. Luckily, the special grade's vitality was still intact, even though half its body had been blown apart, it could still be salvaged. The dozens of lesser cursed spirits, however, were completely finished. Damn you, human! You didn't use your full strength just now. Only one cursed spirit remained, roaring in fury. By relying on its just restored technique, it had barely escaped the massacre. It hurriedly reattached its severed arm and reformed 2 lightning swords from its technique. I will not be defeated. Wrapped in lightning, the cursed spirit tried to evolve again. Slash! In the next instant, Zen'in Shinsuke, his whole body radiating raw chi and blood power, blurred past. His giant axe tore the air, leaving a streak of blood across the spirit's torso. No way! The spirit, about to be split in 2, unleashed a brutal burst of cursed energy that pulled its halves back together. If it could heal in time, it still had a chance. It could still grow stronger. But Zen'in Shinsuke gave it no time. You've got a powerful recovery? Fine, let's see whether you recover faster or I cut faster. All anyone could see was an afterimage smashing into the spirit again and again. Arms, limbs, torso, blood flew, real flesh tore apart. The scene grew unbearably brutal. For a moment it was hard to tell who the villain actually was. With a wet, final slap, the spirit's regeneration could no longer keep up. Its body was gone, reduced to a puddle of shredded meat. In its last moment of awareness, its consciousness sank deep and it saw Zen'in Shinsuke. You were strong, a shame you met me. This had been a cursed spirit with huge potential, but it had been discovered before it reached its peak, or it might have been a real problem. After reviewing its short life, the spirit's last sliver of consciousness faded away. Spirits like it never truly die. As long as humanity retains a primal fear of natural disaster, they can be reborn. It would return someday, but would it still be the same? Would it still hunger to grow stronger? Damn you, next time I'll make sure you don't win. Geto Suguru glared at the ruined special grade with a grave look. What the hell was going on with this one? Why did his plans keep getting foiled by that man? Plan failed again. Geto had no choice but to withdraw and postpone his scheme. He'd hoped to add one powerful special grade to his forces, instead he'd lost dozens. Zen'in Shinsuke didn't care about Geto's thoughts. A fierce heat surged from the scripture into his bones, finally pouring into the Jing Gate acupoint. Gate of Joy 3% 15%. The Joy Gate's unlock progress jumped from 3% to 15%, the fastest advancement he ever seen. A powerful special grade, plus several first-rate cursed spirits among Geto's dozens, had caused the sudden spike. Shinsuke exhaled, visibly satisfied. Cursed spirits are useful things. You've got to kill them. Chapter 30, The Ignored Gojo Satoru. The axe isn't bad, but I think I dulled it. I'll return a sharper one next time. Zen'in Shinsuke walked back to Mei and the others, handing over the battered axe. They froze for a moment, before Mei waved dismissively. Forget it. It's just an axe. She loved money, sure, but not everything could be measured by its value. Much appreciated then. Shinsuke wasn't polite about it. Truth was, he didn't have the money to buy her a new curse tool anyway. So can we head back now? Iori Yutaheim asked nervously. She couldn't deny it, Zen'in Shinsuke scared her. More than fear though, it was shock. Yes, his way of exorcising curses was brutal, but to wipe out so many so easily, it proved he wasn't even in the same league as them. We should be done, yeah? Mission's complete. Though if we want to extend this day a few days on the schools tab, I wouldn't complain. For once, Shinsuke was in a good mood, he even cracked a joke. Haha, might not be appropriate though. Kusakabe, still suppressing his awe, forced a laugh. Truth was, he barely lifted a finger this whole mission. Free vacation days? His conscience twinged. Yo, looks like you all wrapped it up nicely. Knew I could count on you. Gojo Satoru finally appeared, late as ever. Now that Geto's men had withdrawn, he could shake them off and arrive. They hadn't wanted a head-on fight with him, just to stall. It had been frustrating. Gojo! Couldn't you have shown up sooner? Do you know how close Mei-Senpai came to? Yutaheim snapped, glaring. With his speed, he could have been here the moment he got the message. I was tied up, sorry. Gojo scratched his head, sheepish. But since you're all fine, I'm guessing the problem's dealt with? To be exact, Shinsuke-sensei handled it alone. We couldn't even get involved. Kusakabe quickly explained. When Gojo heard the full story, he regretted it. If he'd known the cursed spirit was that strong, he should have stopped fooling around. One domain expansion, wipe the floor, and he'd have made it here on time. All because of Geto's tricks, he hesitated. Next time, he told himself, he couldn't afford to go easy, softness would cost him. Still, you're seriously strong. Why don't we take this chance to fight it out? Gojo grinned at Shinsuke, clearly unsatisfied from his stalled battle. Idiot! Shinsuke ignored him, took the broken playful cloud from Kusakabe, and strode out of the tent. TCH, what's that supposed to mean? Doesn't he want to test himself against the strongest sorcerer? Gojo muttered. Ahem, maybe, just maybe, Shinsuke-sensei's not interested in you. Kusakabe patted Gojo's shoulder. From what I've seen, he only really enjoys fighting curses. Oi, what's that supposed to mean? Are you saying I rank below a cursed spirit? Gojo almost lost it. Shinsuke would go wild fighting curses, but when it came to him, nothing. Was he being looked down on? We're leaving, strongest sorcerer. Yutaheim helped Mei up and walked out after Shinsuke. Gojo was left behind. No one cared whether he ranked above a cursed spirit or not. The mission was done, they could go home. The cleanup would be left to the grade 2s and below. Days later, Zen'in Shinsuke found himself with a new nickname, Cursed Spirit Slayer. No one knew who coined it, but paired with his brother's infamous moniker Sorcerer Slayer, the title quickly stuck. The Zen'in Estate courtyard. Shinsuke reclined lazily on a sun chair, basking in the orange glow of morning light. Training had lost its edge, he was shifting his focus to hunting powerful cursed spirits instead. The problem was, there were far too few that met his standards. Still, he wasn't worried. A few years from now, plenty would surface. Then he'd level up to his heart's content. Brother, look! I'm about to succeed. Beside him, Mai strained with all her might, face flushed red. She pressed her palms together, forcing out threads of cursed energy until they condensed into a tiny stone. Brother! I really did it! Her face lit up with joy as she turned to show Shinsuke the pebble of cursed energy. But the moment she spun around, her body went limp. Vision blackened. She collapsed forward. Smack! Fortunately, Zen'in Shinsuke reached out and caught her before she could faceplant into the ground. The pebble of cursed energy slipped from her palm, scattering back into raw cursed power before vanishing completely. Tisk, tisk. He laid Mai gently onto the chair, then glanced over at Maki, who was still sweating bullets under the tree. His tone was half mocking, half sighing. You two sisters, honestly, one's weaker than the other. No surprise there, it was the curse of the twins. Sharing one person's talent between two bodies made climbing towards strength nearly impossible. Unless the two of them worked together perfectly, the odds were basically zero. As things stood, they were dragging each other down. Mai lacked cursed energy. Maki, on the other hand, had just a little too much of it. The result? Mai's construction technique couldn't reach its full potential, while Maki's heavenly restriction was weakened, dulling her physical augmentation. To fix the defect, one twin would have to die. Still, if Maki's faint traces of cursed energy could somehow be transferred into Mai, maybe the curse of the twins could be broken. What Shinsuke didn't know was whether Maki could ever cultivate blood force. After all, blood force and cursed energy were polar opposites, only one could exist in a body at a time. He could only wait until Maki's physical strength reached the threshold, then give it a try. Her cursed energy was so faint, there was a real chance it might work. What happened to me? Before long, Mai stirred awake, realizing she had somehow stolen her brother's chair. Her face was full of confusion. Wasn't she just training her technique? That's normal for the first time. With more practice, it'll get easier. Shinsuke gave a simple explanation. Oh, I see, looks like I still have a lot of work to do. Easily convinced, Mai assumed her fainting was just part of the process. It never crossed her mind that something was wrong, because her brother would never lie to her. Seeing this, Shinsuke reached out and ruffled her hair. The truth was, it didn't matter how hard she tried. With such a defect, even relentless effort might not lead to strength. If the flaw couldn't be fixed, working herself to death would only make her miserable. Better to stay comfortable. If he hadn't been handed his cheat, he'd probably still be slacking off somewhere, living off someone else's efforts. When hard work had no visible path to results, he'd always choose another road, the easier one. Chapter 31, The Zen'in Clan's Olive Branch. Mai squinted her eyes, tilting her head slightly upward, savoring the gentle hand patting her head. This warmth, it was something she could never feel from her father. Just then, a middle-aged man strode into the courtyard without the slightest regard for manners. His gaze swept over Maki and Mai, and a flash of ridicule crossed his eyes. Trash attracts trash, how amusing. What are you doing here? Zen'in Shinsuke's tone was flat, his expression cold as his eyes locked on the man. This is your attitude toward an elder? Zen'in Jinichi looked down on him, trying to play the senior card, hoping to morally pressure him into submission. Elder? You? Shinsuke sneered. Though they were half-brothers by blood, Jinichi had never once treated him or Toji like family. The only interaction they'd ever had was when Jinichi joined the others in mocking the two of them as children. If you can't protect your own brothers, fine. But to actually step on them together with outsiders? That kind of brother. Shinsuke wouldn't accept even if gifted. I didn't come here to argue. I came to inform you, starting today, you'll be a member of the Zen'in clan's Kujuryu squad. Perform well, and I might even arrange a vice-captain position for you. Jinichi spoke as if delivering a decree, his voice heavy with the air of command. Although you have no cursed energy, your strength is tolerable. I even went out of my way to plead with the clan head so you'd have this chance. You should be grateful to the Zen'in family. In his mind, joining the Kujuryu squad was a glorious honor. The Kujuryu squad? Not even the Hei unit, huh? Same old Zen'in arrogance. Shinsuke chuckled. The Kujuryu were little more than a band of trained guards without techniques, glorified foot soldiers. The Hei were different, an elite unit composed entirely of at least semi-grade 1 sorcerers. If they'd offered him a seat in the Hei, maybe he'd think the clan regretted past actions. But offering him a vice-captaincy in the Kujuryu? Knowing his strength, this gesture was almost insulting. Get lost. You're an eyesore. You! Don't forget, this house you're living in still belongs to the Zen'in clan. Jinichi hadn't expected such blatant rejection. The clan had never compromised for someone without cursed energy. This was the first time in history. Yet this bastard still wouldn't appreciate it? And what of it? Come take it back if you can. Shinsuke didn't even glance at him. He'd earned this place with his own hands, why should he give it back? Frankly, the Zen'in should be grateful he hadn't taken the whole clan estate. Utterly unreasonable. Junichi's face flushed red with rage as he stormed out. In his heart, he fumed. Even when offered goodwill, this talentless fool refuses. Trash without cursed energy, and brainless on top of it. Brother, is he okay? Mai tilted her head, puzzled as she watched Junichi leave with a red face. Why did his face suddenly turn so red? Was he shy? He's brain damaged. Forget him. Next time you see someone like that, stay far away. Stupidity is contagious. Got it, brother. I don't want to turn into an idiot. Her quick nod made Shinsuke smile in satisfaction. With such an obedient little sister, of course he'd protect her. Then, glancing at Maki, who hadn't even paused her training through the whole exchange, Shinsuke suddenly remembered something. Maki. Come here. Huff. Maki wiped the sweat from her brow, jogging over with a serious expression. Master, what is it? Master again? Sis, you forgot, you're not even officially taken in as brother's disciple yet. Mai piped up helpfully from the side. Maki shrugged, unfazed. Sooner or later makes no difference. Ahem. Enough with pointless talk. Shinsuke cut them off before the bickering went further. Shinsuke cut the two girls' chatter short. Maki, after watching you for a long time, I've decided you're worth cultivating. Starting today, you'll learn weapon mastery from me. He couldn't yet teach her chi and blood force. Her body wasn't ready for that. But before reaching that threshold, mastering weapons was essential. Really? Maki's eyes widened, disbelief flashing across her face. Finally, something real, something powerful she could learn. Of course it's real. If you want to be my disciple, mastering every kind of weapon is non-negotiable. That's amazing. Then, can I skip school tomorrow and just train with you, master? Excitement made her forget herself, she was even ready to ditch class. No. You're still going to school. Or do you plan to live as an illiterate? At the very least, she had to know how to read. Fine. Maki crossed her arms and pouted, lips tight. She really didn't see the point of school. Just a bunch of brats wasting time. Training was much better. Mai, meanwhile, breathed a sigh of relief. If her sister skipped school, she'd definitely want to skip too. Meanwhile, back at the Zen'in main estate. Junichi, still fuming from his encounter, angrily reported Shinsuke's insolence to the elders. Just a talentless fool without cursed energy, who gave him the right to act so arrogant. Heh. Probably killed a few curses with cursed tools and now thinks he's a sorcerer, sneered Zen'in Oji. So what if his body was a bit tougher? Any decent sorcerer could surpass that with ease. Oji's contempt wasn't reserved just for Shinsuke, he felt the same toward his own daughters. To him, Maki and Mai were the ultimate failures, stains on his lineage. If not for those two disgraces, he was certain the clan head seat wouldn't have fallen to Nobito. He knew his daughters were close to Shinsuke, but he couldn't care less. In fact, he secretly hoped Shinsuke would take them away for good. That way, at least one shameful blemish would be erased from his record. Calling brother Shinsuke a fool, you trash think you're qualified? Zen'in Naoya finally spoke up, voice dripping with scorn. What did you just say? Junichi and Oji both turned toward him, frowning. Am I wrong? If you've got the guts, say it to Shinsuke's face. Call him trash, see if you walk away in one piece. Naoya's cold sneer cut the air. He had no intention of giving either of them any face. Weaklings calling others worthless? That was the real joke. He could understand mocking Maki and Mai, after all, they were hopeless. But Shinsuke? The man had already made the Zen'in clan pay dearly for underestimating him. Yet these idiots still hadn't learned their lesson. If anything, they were the true trash of the family. You! Enough! Naruto, glass of sake in hand, finally cut in, his voice heavy. Less pointless squabbling. If you have time to flap your tongues, use it to get stronger. Humph! Junichi and Oji grumbled, but let it drop. Whatever else could be said of them, their loyalty to the clan was genuine. Chapter 32, Fixing the Stick? Uncle, I'll be heading home now. Fushiguro Megumi stopped at the gate, giving a polite farewell to Zen'in Shinsuke. Because of certain agreements, Megumi would come to the Zen'in estate every weekend to study the Ten Shadows technique. The markings of that hereditary technique were etched into his very being, meaning that, for the first time in decades, the Zen'in clan finally had the potential to produce another special grade sorcerer. When the clan first learned that Toji's son had inherited the Ten Shadows, they were both furious and elated. Furious that their sacred technique had awakened in someone outside the family. Elated that, since he still carried Zen'in blood, there was a chance of bringing him back into the fold. But that joy quickly soured. Toji had sold Megumi to the clan, yes, but later regretted it, making his son's connection to them tenuous at best. Now, Megumi treated the clan like a cram school, a place to study, nothing more. He came only to deepen his grasp of the technique and tame more Shikigami. And so, aside from Naruto, most of the Zen'in resented him. Or rather, resented Toji. Why should a man with no cursed energy father a son blessed with their most prized technique? They could not understand it, and could only choke on their own bitterness. Be careful on the road. Shinsuke glanced at the spiky-haired boy. If not for Toji and himself standing guard, the clan would have long since forced Megumi to change his surname. Then again, even without them, there was still Gojo Satoru. The kid was lucky, very lucky. Hey! Little nephew, only saying goodbye to big brother? Mai stood beside Shinsuke with her hands on her hips, nose tilted high, glaring down at Megumi. She and Maki had always been the lowest of the low in the clan. And now this outsider nephew appeared? She had to act the elder somehow. TCH, boring. Megumi curled his lip and ignored her, swinging his backpack onto his shoulder as he walked away. Someone his age, expecting him to call her aunt? Not a chance. Ugh! Brother, did you see that? No respect for his elders at all. Mai stomped her foot in frustration. She'd finally found someone with lower standing than herself, but of course he had to be a thorn. She tugged on Shinsuke's arm, whining to salvage her lost dignity. Shinsuke, however, could only shrug. They were all just kids, he wasn't about to pick sides. Mai, seeing her brother unmoved, puffed out her cheeks in a sulk and swore to ignore him for 3 whole hours. A short while after Megumi left, there was a knock at the gate. Standing there was a tall woman in black, her long ice-blue braid falling over her shoulder, an unmistakable figure. Mei? What brings you here? Shinsuke raised an eyebrow. Don't tell me she came to demand compensation for that dulled axe he borrowed? She'd said he didn't owe her anything. Shinsuke-sensei, your weapon broke during the last battle, didn't it? I came to repair it for you. Mei's voice was calm, her face serious. She wasn't joking. After all, how could a single axe repay a life-saving debt? She'd noticed his cursed tool was snapped and figured, since she was free today, she might as well lend a hand. HSS. How much is this gonna cost me? If it's expensive, I'll pass. Shinsuke grimaced, thinking of the shattered playful cloud still lying inside his house. Repairing a special-grade cursed tool cost a fortune. He'd left it sitting, planning to dump it on Maki later, let her figure out how to pay for it. And now Mei was at his door? He immediately remembered her reputation, a money-hoarding miser. Pfft. Mei's eyes crinkled as laughter slipped out. She hadn't expected him to react like that. So, he was stingy about money too? She never would have guessed. Then again, he did take every curse extermination job he could. It made sense. Are you really that broke? If you need it, I could lend you some money. Of course, with interest. Free weapon repairs, sure. But loans? Those were always high interest. That was her line in the sand. No thanks. Shinsuke waved her off. Of all people, she was the last one he'd borrow money from. His salary wasn't nearly enough to cover Mei Mei's kind of interest. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Really though, give me the weapon. 5 days, and I'll return it good as new. No charge. Seriously? Seriously. Her eyes were firm, her tone sincere. For once, no hidden tricks. A little confused, Shinsuke fetched the broken playful cloud and handed it over. I'll get it back to you, no corner cutting. Mei Mei turned and left, as if she'd truly come just to fix his weapon. For the first time, Shinsuke's opinion of her shifted. Maybe she wasn't just a money grubber after all. Maybe she knew how to repay debts. Oh, right. Your taijutsu's incredible, isn't it? Next time, let's spar. No weapons. Not far from the gate, Mei Mei called back with a grin. Her own power was built mostly on hand-to-hand combat. But it surpassed hers by far. If he agreed, maybe, just maybe, she could learn something. She wanted to get stronger, for one reason only. So she could make more money. Save it all. Hearing Mei Mei's parting words, Shinsuke couldn't help but feel something was off. Brother, who was that pretty lady? Mai tilted her head curiously, staring after Mei Mei's retreating figure. A skilled sorcerer who really likes money, Shinsuke replied flatly. Then, is she your girlfriend? Mai blinked up at him, her big eyes sparkling with mischief. Shinsuke froze. Against his will, that woman's face flickered through his mind. He shook his head furiously. What the hell are you thinking? Then his glare fell on Mai. Tell me, is your skin itching for a beating? Little brat, already prying into his personal life? Did she want to overthrow the heavens? I was just asking. Mai puffed out her cheeks, lips trembling with mock grievance. No more asking. Be good, go train with Maki. Look at you, so weak you couldn't beat anyone. If you keep this up, the only thing you'll be able to do in the future is cry alone when you get bullied. For a moment, Shinsuke wondered if he needed to reshape the image he held in his little sister's heart. No, I don't want to train. I don't need to, since I've got you and sis, nobody dares to bully me. Mai threw herself at his leg, clinging tightly and whining. Over the years, she completely mastered the art of acting spoiled. She knew exactly who her biggest shield was. As long as she stuck close to her brother, not even the Zen'in clan would dare touch her. You really are. Shinsuke sighed, shaking his head helplessly. This girl had truly achieved enlightenment, understanding that 90% of life's problems could be solved with well-placed whining. The remaining 10% were simply the things he absolutely refused to budge on. Chapter 33, Want a clan head? Yours for the taking. Inside the Zen'in clan head's chamber. Clang! Naobito Zen'in slammed his sake bottle hard against the table, glaring at the two brothers before him. Have Fushiguro Megumi change his surname. Whatever you want in return, anything the Zen'in clan can provide, it's yours. In Megumi, he saw the clan's future. The boy who carried the potential of 10 shadows, the technique powerful enough to once fight the Gojo ancestor who bore both Limitless and 6 Eyes to a standstill. If Megumi returned to the Zen'in, if he grew into his power, the balance Gojo Satoru had shattered could be restored. And the Zen'in name would blaze in glory once again. Shinsuke and Toji exchanged a glance. Both broke into easy, mocking smiles. Old man, so you do know how to beg? Tell me, Shinsuke tilted his head, amused, did you even ask the rest of the clan before pulling this stunt? I am the head of the Zen'in clan. Since when do I need their permission? Naobito's voice thundered. This concerns the future of the clan. Their opinions don't matter. Of course he knew the others resented these two brothers, and resented Megumi even more. But so what? This was 10 Shadows. A hereditary art strong enough to stand atop the Jujutsu world. Toji leaned back, voice calm. When I sold Megumi to the Zen'in back then, it was because I couldn't raise him. But things are different now. I've realized I should at least try to shoulder a father's responsibility. He looked Nobito dead in the eye. So the deal is off. But don't worry, I won't raise Megumi to hate the Zen'in. He's learned plenty from your resources, and that's enough. That was Toji's final compromise. Megumi would not carry the Zen'in name, but he wouldn't be taught to despise them either. I agree, Shinsuke added mercilessly. If you want him to think well of the Zen'in, that's on you. Give him a good enough impression, and maybe when he makes it big, he'll even remember you kindly. His tone dripped with scorn. Back then, you ignored us. Now, you're not worthy to climb up. Even Toji hadn't expected the day would come when the Zen'in clan head would bow to them like this. It might be only Nobito's personal plea, but still, if the clan head bent the knee, the clan had already lost. Lost completely. Nobito said nothing more. He lifted his sake bottle and downed it in silence. He knew these two would never forgive. Especially Toji. Shinsuke? He had never cared what the clan thought of him anyway. To him, the Zen'in were just sheep to be sheared. Shinsuke, would you like to be clan head? The words broke the silence. Nobito was ready to make a decision that defied the clan's ancestors. Shinsuke blinked. You've got the guts for it, Nobito pressed. But sadly, there aren't many like you in this clan. Still, if you want it, the position is yours. Keep it for yourself, Shinsuke replied instantly, lips curling in disdain. Make me clan head, and Toji and Megumi get shackled to the Zen'in forever. I'm not that stupid. I won't trade their freedom just to get rich off your coffers. So be it, Nobito muttered, sighing. At least, the clan finally has a 10 Shadows user again. Better than before. He poured himself another drink. The Zen'in will give Megumi everything he needs. No strings attached. I ask for only one thing: if one of his descendants awakens 10 Shadows in the future, they must carry the Zen'in name. It was the best he could hope for. If Megumi truly rose to become clan head, then surely his bloodline would continue to awaken 10 Shadows. And eventually, the technique would return to the Zen'in family where it belonged. That, Shinsuke said, standing, depends on how deep a bond you build with him. Neither he nor Toji could make that choice for Megumi. And besides, who knew if the Zen'in clan would even survive long enough to see that day? Toji rose with him. They pushed open the door. Outside, several clan members quickly averted their eyes, pretending they hadn't been eavesdropping. Shinsuke ignored them, walking toward the courtyard. Toji followed, a sly grin tugging at his lips. Seeing the clan so desperate for his son, yet unable to have him, felt better than burning the whole place down. Tell me, Toji chuckled, were you actually tempted just now? What tempted? Don't start spouting nonsense, Shinsuke shot back, annoyed. Shinsuke flatly denied it. Clan head of the Zen'in? So what, more money? A warehouse full of cursed tools? A cursed tool vault wasn't worth much in his eyes. At best, maybe the price of a few playful cloud staffs. Like hell he'd be tempted. Though, he added casually, if Megumi does end up becoming clan head someday, make sure he hands me the key to that cursed tool vault. A place that important shouldn't be left to anyone else. Toji's mouth twitched. Didn't feel tempted, huh? Then why are you already planning out how to skim the family vault years down the line? Luckily, most of the Zenin's real treasures were already sitting in his own stash. Back at Shinsuke's residence, the courtyard was lively. Maki was drilling with her staff, Megumi was practicing his shikigami, and Mai was happily chatting with none other than Mei, who had somehow dropped by. Big brother's back. Mai chirped, waving. Everyone turned their eyes toward the two brothers entering. Mei? When did you get here? You could have said something first, Shinsuke remarked. Then he noticed the flawless, playful Cloud staff at her side. His eyes lit up. Already fixed? That fast? Here! Try it! Mei tossed the restored playful Cloud to him. He caught it, gave it a casual swing, and nodded with satisfaction. Feels just like before. Thanks. No need to thank me, she replied smoothly. You broke playful Cloud? Toji asked after a brief look, already piecing together what must have happened. Why not? Thing was brittle as paper, breaking it was normal. Anyway, don't you have a ton of curse tools? Lend me another, yeah? Shinsuke's eyes gleamed as he shamelessly eyed Toji's private arsenal. One playful Cloud wasn't nearly enough. Not a chance. Megumi, we're going home. Toji didn't hesitate. The longer they stayed, the more likely his thick-skinned brother would actually rob him. Che. Stingy. Shinsuke scowled, genuinely affronted. Was their brotherhood really worth less than a single curse tool? Watching this little drama, Mei chuckled softly. You and your brother seem to get along well. With her information network, she had no trouble recognizing Toji. And really, standing side by side, the resemblance between the two men was undeniable. It's alright. You and your little brother seem close too, don't you? Shinsuke shot back. Mei's lips curved. So you do know more than you let on. Glancing at the sky, Shinsuke spoke again. It's about dinner time. Why not stay and eat with us? Mei shook her head lightly. No need. Instead, how about a spar? Just the two of us. This visit wasn't only to return playful Cloud. She wanted to see if her taijutsu could be pushed further. Her body was already honed to its limit. But in terms of technique, there was still room to improve. So that's your angle? Fine. Shinsuke smirked. For playful Cloud's sake, giving her a few pointers wasn't a big deal. At least she genuinely wanted to grow stronger, unlike Gojo Satoru, that lunatic who only wanted a good fight for fun. Chapter 34, Clang, Clang. Surprised or not? At the center of the wide courtyard, the two faced each other. How do you want to do this? Shinsuke asked calmly. Just give me pressure. Make me feel it. Mei tied her hair back tight, rolling her wrists and loosening her shoulders. Pressure? That, I'm good at. A faint smile tugged at Shinsuke's lips. Applying pressure was practically his specialty. All right. I'm coming. She lunged, closing the gap in an instant, driving an upward hook toward his chin. Shinsuke tilted back just slightly, the fist swept past his face, sharp wind brushing his cheek. Good power, he thought, but the speed's lacking. Before Mei could withdraw and reset, a broad hand pressed against her ribs. Bang! The strike felt like being slammed by a speeding truck. She was blasted off her feet. She flipped midair, rolled with the momentum, and slid back several steps before steadying herself. Her ribs throbbed with pain. So this is what he means by pressure. Looks like I've still got a lot of room to grow. She surged forward again, legs coiling like springs, her form blurring into a shadow as she re-engaged. This time, with Shinsuke deliberately holding back, she began to adapt, patching gaps in her technique as they traded blows. The clash whipped up gales so fierce that Mai and Maki could only huddle behind a tree to watch. Maki's eyes glittered with awe. So this is what a real fight between the strong looks like. This is the power of master. She had no real measure for levels of strength, but this duel in pure taijutsu struck her to the core. For the first time, she knew, even without cursed energy, even without a technique, she could become strong. Truly strong. Like her master. Her resolve hardened further. Brother and that lady are both amazing. I can't even see them clearly anymore, Mai muttered, dizzy from the blinding speed. Sis, Who's stronger, cousin or that lady? Obviously master. Do you even need to ask? Maki shot back. I guess so. Big brother's the strongest, Mai agreed solemnly. An hour passed. Mei was drenched in sweat, panting, her stamina draining fast. Meanwhile, Shinsuke hadn't even broken a sweat, his body was like a perpetual engine. Whatever he spent, he recovered faster. Time to wrap it up. He caught her incoming fist in his palm and ended the bout. That's enough. Your stamina's nearly gone. For a jujutsu sorcerer, fighting without cursed energy burned through strength quickly. Ha! Mei retracted her hand, drawing on her energy to restore herself. She smiled faintly. As I thought, I've still got room to improve. Thanks for this. She could already feel the gains. Once she dissected the details of this spar, her strength would rise again. Stronger meant richer, and richer meant more to save. Just thinking of it made her happy. Alright, I'm off. Next time there's good money to be made, I won't forget you. She waved lightly as she headed for the gate. If he was really strapped for cash like he seemed, she'd make sure he got a cut someday. Consider it repayment. Oh, that doesn't sound half bad. Shinsuke walked her to the gate. He thought to invite her to dinner, but knowing her personality, she'd refuse anyway. He pulled the gate open. Clang, clang. Surprise! Didn't expect me, huh? Yuki Tsukumo burst in with a wide grin, helmet still on her head. She'd rushed here straight off the plane, determined to shock Shinsuke with her grand return. The timing was perfect, she arrived just as the gate opened. Truly fate. But then her eyes fell on Mei, sweaty, smiling, standing at Shinsuke's side. Her grin froze. In an instant she shrank into a chibi caricature, eyes welling up with tears, lips quivering in a pout. Why? I was here first. She hadn't even been gone that long, and he already had a new flame. Her heart ached like mad. If I'd known this would happen, I never would have played coy last time. I should have just gone all in. Hearing that, both Shinsuke and Mei froze for a moment, exchanging a glance. You must be special grade sorcerer Tsukumo Yuki, right? You're mistaken. I was only sparring with him in taijutsu, Mei explained with a calm smile. Sure, the guy was handsome, with a body like steel, but he wasn't her type. Or rather, she never even thought in that direction. As far as she was concerned, life was about money. Money, and her little brother. Really? Yuki dabbed at her big, teary eyes, turning to Shinsuke for confirmation. It's really just that, Shinsuke said flatly. And you, couldn't you have given me a heads up before barging over? What if I wasn't home? He shot her an exasperated glance. For a special grade sorcerer, she sure acted like a kid. Heh, I wanted to surprise you. Yuki slipped off her helmet, tossing her hair back. The gloom of a moment ago vanished as if it had never existed. Well then, I'll get out of your way. No need to intrude on your reunion. Mei chuckled, gave them both a knowing once-over, and left gracefully. Still, she hadn't expected to stumble on such juicy gossip, special grade Tsukumo Yuki and the cursed energyless failure of the Zen'in clan? Now that was valuable intel. Once Mei was gone, Yuki dropped all pretense of formality, slipping into the house like it was her own. Go make dinner. I haven't eaten yet. Oh, and I'll be staying here a few days. Don't tell me you're broke again? Shinsuke deadpanned. Hey. Yuki stuck out her tongue. That was answer enough. Wow, another pretty big sister. First one leaves, and now another shows up. Mai's eyes widened as she pointed at the blonde woman who had just walked in. Oh? 2 kids? And what's their relation to you? Yuki leaned down, studying the twins with curiosity. I'm Zen'in Mai, this is my sister Zen'in Maki. We're our brother's little sisters, Mai said brightly, introducing them without hesitation. Zen'in, huh? Yuki's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. So you really have let the clan go, Shinsuke? Or, do these two have something special about them? She activated her cursed energy perception, and the moment she felt the strange imbalance within the twins, her eyes widened. Ah. No wonder. Are you eating or not? Shinsuke snapped, breaking her train of thought. Eating! Of course I'm eating. Then go wash the vegetables. Roger that. Yuki strode off toward the kitchen with no shame whatsoever. Watching her go, Mai tugged at her brother's sleeve, her face unusually serious. Big brother. I think that lady likes you. Maki crossed her arms and turned away, frowning. Humph. Who cares? But her expression said otherwise. If Master gets a girlfriend, will he still have time to train me? Women really did nothing but slow down the path to strength. Chapter 35, Not Suitable, We're Too Familiar. After dinner, once Maki and Mai had gone home, the house grew quiet, leaving only Zen'in Shinsuke and Tsukumo Yuki. Shinsuke leaned back on the sofa, flicked on the TV, and asked casually. So, what brings you back this time? Normally, Yuki never returned without a good reason. After all, it was overseas where she hunted for answers. Why were sorcerers so rare outside of Japan, and why did curses manifest there so much less? The ratio was staggering. Domestically, sorcerers made up 99% of the population, while overseas only 1%. The ratio of curses mirrored it. If she could solve that puzzle, maybe she could tackle the very root of curses themselves. But instead of an explanation, Yuki kicked off her shoes, sprawled sideways across the sofa, and shot him a teasing look. Obviously, I came back to see if you'd gone rotten without me. And maybe catch up a little. What? That's not allowed. Shinsuke's expression didn't twitch. Don't say things like that. We're adults. You're pushing 30, you don't need to sound like a teenager. Yuki puffed her cheeks, glaring at him with wounded pride. Can't you just play along once in a while? He didn't bother answering. Childish antics weren't his thing. Fine. Honestly, I just wanted to see you. And check if Jujutsu High has changed at all. She sat up, folding her legs under her, propping her chin on one hand as she studied him. What do you want to know? I'm teaching there now. Think of this as me giving you a report. Never thought I'd see you working for them, she muttered, lips curling. The idea clearly annoyed her. That institution was rotten in her eyes, more concerned with preserving its balance of power than saving the world. Each of us takes what we need, Shinsuke replied flatly. Funny you say that. You know, if you'd taken him under your wing, Geto Suguru might not have fallen so far. Her voice sharpened. Instead, he's out there burning himself up, swearing to kill every non-sorcerer alive. That's what your precious system gave him. Shinsuke's expression stayed calm. That was his choice. Even without me, he would have walked that path eventually. Maybe even something worse. All I did was make him choose sooner. She had been surprised, yes, but not shocked. The easiest way to save the world was also the most brutal, and Geto had chosen it. Without power above special grade, it was a doomed road. Unless he recruited Gojo. Or her. Neither option seemed likely. Shinsuke smirked faintly. If we're playing the blame game, you're not innocent either. Yuki shot him a sharp glare. He chuckled. Truth is, no one's innocent. Not Gojo. Not you. Not me. The fault isn't with one person, it's with the world itself. He switched off the TV and stood. Get some rest. It's late. With that, he left for his room. Fortunately, the house he'd seized was big enough to spare a guest room. Watching him disappear, Yuki chewed her lip. Maybe, this is my chance. After today, she couldn't ignore it anymore. If she didn't act now, maybe someone else would steal him away. 20 minutes later, the house had gone quiet. Yuki showered, slipped into a light nightgown, and crept out of her room barefoot. She tiptoed to Shinsuke's door, only to find it locked. Her face twisted in outrage. What's that supposed to mean? He's actually guarding against me? For the record, Shinsuke was completely innocent. He always locked his door on weekends, because without fail, Mai or Maki, usually Mai, would barge into his room at dawn. But Yuki didn't know that. All she saw was rejection. "Oh, you're going to keep me out?" she muttered, eyes narrowing. "Not tonight." A thread of cursed energy slipped into the lock. Click. The door swung open without resistance. Pathetic. Did he really think a lock could stop a special-grade sorcerer? She eased the door open, slipped inside, and closed it behind her, a triumphant grin spreading across her face. Flawless. What do you think you're doing? The light snapped on. Shinsuke was sitting upright on the bed, staring at her with cool, unimpressed eyes. Ah! Yuki nearly jumped out of her skin, clutching her chest as it heaved dramatically. You scared me. Shinsuke's expression darkened. This is my room. Why are you asking me why I'm here? Fine. She huffed, cheeks burning. Cards on the table. I'm here on purpose. I thought I was obvious enough already, but do I really have to spell it out? Caught red-handed, Tsukumo Yuki dropped all pretense. Hands on her hips, chin high, she looked every bit the shameless rogue. Tonight, no excuse, no obstacle was going to stop her. She'd been eyeing this man far too long. She wasn't leaving without sinking her teeth into this prize. You! Zen'in Shinsuke's gaze turned complicated. Until now, he'd always assumed Yuki was just teasing him, playing her usual games. He never thought she actually meant it, never thought she'd be serious enough to corner him like this. And now, she wasn't even bothering to hide it. We're not suitable. Not suitable? She puffed out her cheeks. You haven't even tried. How do you know we're not suitable? She arched her back, pressing forward as if to prove her point. Am I not beautiful? You are. My figure not good enough? It's good. My strength too weak? You're strong. Then it's the money, isn't it? You look down on me because I'm broke. Yuki blurted, panic flashing in her eyes. Fine. I'll work harder, earn more, I'll let you live off me for the rest of your life if that's what it takes. That's not it. Shinsuke rubbed the back of his neck, sighing. He wasn't concerned about money. Ever since he quit gambling, he hadn't cared about wealth, so long as he had enough to get by. Then why? Yuki demanded, stamping her foot. Where exactly am I not good enough? After a long pause, Shinsuke averted his eyes, scratching at his hair like a man embarrassed to admit something ridiculous. It's just, we know each other too well. I'd feel awkward making a move. Eh? Yuki froze, stunned. That's it? That's the reason? She actually lost to familiarity? So this was why childhood friends always lost to newcomers, too close, too comfortable, too familiar. I don't care, she snapped, face flushing red. If you're too embarrassed, then I'm not. With that, Yuki threw herself forward, tackling him onto the bed. In one motion, she slapped the light switch off and leaned close, her voice dropping into a soft, mischievous purr. See? With the lights out, we're not familiar anymore. Shinsuke's first instinct was to push her away, but before he could, something warm and damp pressed against his lips. His hand, frozen stiff at first, slowly settled against the curve of her back. It was the first time he'd ever been forced into such a passive role. As expected of her, a woman who never played fair. Chapter 36, Mai Isn't Happy. The next morning. As expected, since it was the weekend, Maki and Mai showed up at the courtyard bright and early. Maki saw the door still locked and guessed her teacher was still sleeping. Shrugging, she grabbed a heavy staff and began practicing her swings in the yard. Meanwhile, Mai went straight for the doormat, lifted it with practiced ease, and fished out the spare key. Her little face lit up with a smug grin. Hee hee, brother Shinsuke is such a slacker. Guess I'll have to wake him up today. The small figure dashed upstairs, stopping in front of Shinsuke's room. Rubbing her little hands together, she carefully reached for the doorknob. Knock, knock. The sun's already burning your butt, brother, time to get up. She shoved the door open, hopped across the floor, and leapt straight at the bed. Witness Mai's mountain-crushing drop. Thump! 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 She bounced twice off the mattress. Who's making all that noise? A sleepy voice drifted out. Yuki Tsukumo cracked open her bleary eyes, tugged the blanket down just enough to peek out, and saw Mai staring at her in shock. Oh, it's just the little brat, Yuki mumbled before yawning, pulling the blanket back up, and, without hesitation, snuggling closer to the figure lying beside her, burying her head against his chest. Her first time had left her both exhilarated and utterly drained. She'd underestimated just how much stamina Shinsuke had. No wonder he'd been mooching off others for years, he was practically a human piledriver. Even as a special grade, she'd barely kept up. Now, exhausted to the bone, she planned to sleep till afternoon at the very least. It's yesterday's big sister. Why are you in my brother's room? Mai's little face froze in bewilderment. Instinctively, she yanked the blanket further down, only to spot another outline beside Yuki. Her brother. Ah! Brother's here too! Her mind crashed. What on earth was going on? Why were her brother and that pretty lady sleeping in the same bed? Was she cold or something? Mai, out. Your brother needs to get up and change. Shinsuke sat up with a sigh. Of all nights to forget to relock the door, really, what a habit. Thankfully, his recovery ability was monstrous. Even after fighting all night, he didn't feel the slightest fatigue. Oh! Still full of questions, Mai walked out, carefully shutting the door behind her. She went back to the yard and quickly relayed what she saw to Maki. Maki, too focused on training to care, replied casually, maybe she was cold and didn't want to sleep alone. Yay! Sister thought the same thing as me. Mai clapped her hands, delighted. If her sister and she thought alike, that must mean she was really smart. Not long after, Shinsuke came out looking perfectly normal, calling them over for breakfast as if nothing had happened. They were just a pair of kids, too young to understand, and he had no intention of explaining. Over the next few days, Yuki didn't leave. She stuck around the house, freeloading meals, taking up space, and, on top of that, she was now freeloading him too. And the debts she already owed? At this rate, he doubted they'd ever be paid back. Sniff sniff, so moved, Yuki murmured dramatically between mouthfuls, as though mooching off him was some kind of heartfelt romance. Leaving the cinema, Yuki Tsukumo clung to Zen'in Shinsuke's arm, still savoring the romance film they had just watched. Was it really that great? It's just a movie, Shinsuke muttered, lips twitching. Why did dating feel more exhausting than mooching off others? You don't get it. You're such a block of steel, Yuki teased. Since she'd never been in a relationship before, she'd spent the past few days cramming in all the stereotypical couple activities. To her surprise, she found there was more to life than saving the world, it could actually be fun. Come on, let's head back. Otherwise those two little brats will complain I've stolen you away again. At first, Maki and Mai hadn't cared much. But after watching the pair go on daily dates for several days straight, the two girls were fuming. That was when they finally understood what boyfriend and girlfriend meant. When they got home, they saw Maki swinging her staff with full focus, while Mai sat sulking on a stone at the doorway, cheeks puffed out in misery. She had once thought it'd be nice for her brother to have a girlfriend. But now? Now she was furious. She'd realized that ever since Yuki showed up, her brother barely spent any time with them, no, with her. And that made her upset. So upset she even wished her brother would never get a girlfriend, so that she, her sister, and her brother could stay together forever. Little Mai, why the long face? Look what I brought you, Yuki chirped as soon as she saw the pouting girl. Humph. Even if you bring me something tasty, I'm not forgiving you. And brother too, don't think cake will make me forgive you two heartless meanies. Mai turned her head with a huff, but her eyes kept darting toward Yuki's hands. They always went out and left her and Maki behind. She refused to forgive them so easily. All right, don't be mad. I'll return your precious big brother to you soon, promise. Yuki chuckled, patting Mai's head. Honestly, she couldn't figure out how this gruff man managed to be so popular with little girls. Really? Mai peeked up hopefully, though her gaze lingered on the cake in Yuki's hands, swallowing hard. Of course. I've got a mission tomorrow, it'll be a long one. While I'm gone, your brother will have plenty of time to play with you too. She handed the cake over, bought with Shinsuke's money of course. Go on, share it with your sister. Gulp. Fine, just this once I'll forgive you. Mai took the cake, eyeing the strawberries on top as her mood instantly softened. For the sake of cake, she could begrudgingly forgive these two traitors. Hugging the box, she skipped over to where Maki was still training. When are you leaving? Shinsuke asked. Tomorrow. I've stayed long enough. If I hang around you any longer, I might really go soft. Yuki straightened, reminding herself of her purpose. Romance was sweet, yes, but she wasn't here to play house. She was the woman who would unravel the origin of curses. Want to come with me? Help me search for the root of all curses? Her eyes glimmered with a trace of expectation. Shinsuke didn't hesitate. Pass. I'm not looking to play hero. Saving the world was something for protagonists. He wasn't interested in grand ideals. He just wanted to keep getting stronger, to do what interested him, and maybe prevent a few regrets along the way. Like this woman. He wasn't about to watch her walk down the same doomed path. Fine, Yuki said, a touch of disappointment slipping through before her cheer returned. You're right. It doesn't suit you anyway. With his personality, he was more fit to laze around at home. From a certain perspective, he'd make a surprisingly good house husband. She smiled at the thought. She could handle the outside world, and he could handle the home. What's so funny? He asked. I'm happy, she replied simply. Chapter 37, Who's Stronger? With Yuki Tsukumo gone again to continue her quest to uncover the origin of curses, Zen'in Shinsuke's life returned to a rare calm. His days fell into a steady rhythm, training Maki, teasing Mai, and occasionally checking in on Toji and his family. But the jujutsu world wasn't as peaceful. With the balance broken, curse-related incidents surged. Each year, Shinsuke exorcised around a dozen Grade 1 curses, sometimes even running into quasi-special grades. His strength continued to grow steadily. As for true special grades? Aside from the lightning-wielding one he had fought years ago, he hadn't crossed paths with another. Why? Simply because they were nowhere to be found. 5 years slipped by in the blink of an eye. The peaceful days finally rippled with change. Master, I can already exorcise Grade 3 curses on my own. Maki stood before him, hair tied in a ponytail, glasses framing eyes full of resolve, a long spear steady in her hands. She had a feeling, within a year, she'd be able to take down Grade 2 curses solo and earn the official rank of a Grade 2 sorcerer. Then she would truly be worthy to call him her teacher and learn higher techniques. Looking at the young woman before him, Shinsuke couldn't help but sigh inwardly. Time really does fly. Not bad. A little faster than I expected, he admitted with a nod. He had thought she'd only reach this level once the main story began. Clearly, her years of training had paid off. Brother, I can exorcise Grade 3 curses too. Mai immediately chimed in like a child eager for praise, fiddling with the pistol in her hand. That's pretty good, Mai, Shinsuke said, a hint of relief in his voice. For ordinary sorcerers, taking down a Grade 3 wasn't much. But for carefree, playful Mai, whose technique was crippled by flaws, it was a genuine accomplishment. Even now, her construction technique could only produce a single bullet per day. Of course. When Sis can handle grade 2 curses, I'll be able to as well. Once a girl resigned to being left behind, Maya changed thanks to Shinsuke's influence. She worked harder now, striving to keep up. I hope both of you get there, Shinsuke said lazily, reclining in his chair. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure appeared in the courtyard as if by teleportation. He glanced at Shinsuke sprawled on his chair, then at the two wary girls. You're living quite comfortably. These two, your daughters? The uninvited guest, Gojo Satoru, spoke with his usual cheeky grin. You know trespassing carries a fine, right? Remember to transfer the penalty fee to my account, Shinsuke deadpanned, feeling a bad premonition. Forget the fine for now. Jujutsu High has a new batch of students. Since you're so relaxed, why don't you help take care of them? Gojo suggested with a smile. Lately, the school had been swamped with incidents. Most powerful sorcerers were too busy, leading no one to guide the incoming first years. And that wouldn't do, fresh students needed someone to show them the ropes, exorcisms, missions, training. By second and third year, sure, they could be left to roam. But not now. Are you kidding me? I'm not teaching anyone, especially sorcerers. The moment Shinsuke heard teacher, he refused flatly. Leading a team into battle was one thing. Teaching class? What the hell would he even teach? Relax, it's just for a year, Gojo coaxed. You may not have cursed energy or techniques, but you probably understand sorcerers better than any teacher at Jujutsu High. That much, he could say with absolute certainty. A man with no cursed energy, thriving in the Jujutsu world? That spoke of not only strength but an intimate knowledge of sorcerers and curses alike. Even if you don't teach them theory, you can guide them in exorcising curses. If it's about techniques, I'll handle their questions myself, Gojo promised. He was confident he could spare that much time. Not interested, Shinsuke said coldly, unmoved. Did Gojo think being a special grade meant he could pressure him? If Shinsuke didn't want to do something, no one could force him. Being a homeroom teacher comes with a bonus salary, Gojo added slyly. And I'll throw in 10 million yen out of my own pocket. If Gojo hadn't been so busy cleaning up after Geto's constant messes, he would have just trained the new students himself. No need to rope in anyone else. How much extra does a homeroom teacher actually make? Shinsuke suddenly asked, face serious. He wasn't interested in Gojo's personal offer of 10 million yen, he just wanted to know how much better the official pay was. Triple. Base salary gets tripled. Missions are still paid separately. And if your students graduate at grade 1 level, there's a hefty bonus too. I see. Shinsuke leaned back, smiling faintly. Well, I don't exactly have much to do these days. Fine, I'll help you this once. But don't forget, the 10 million, and the trespassing fine. Both need to hit my account. Gojo's smile twitched. What the hell do you mean, for my sake? This guy wanted the money and the favor? Was it even possible to be this shameless? Fine. Just be at school on time tomorrow. With that, Gojo compressed space with his limitless technique and vanished, leaving behind a deep crater in the courtyard. Shinsuke glanced at the hole but decided not to bother charging him for property damage. For 10 million, he could let it slide. Brother, was that the so-called strongest sorcerer, Gojo Satoru? The sudden appearance, the iconic blindfold and white hair, it wasn't hard to guess. In the Jujutsu world, there wasn't a soul who didn't know his name. Yeah. Shinsuke answered casually, but the satisfied smile tugging at his lips betrayed him when his phone buzzed with a bank transfer notification. As expected of a special grade, filthy rich. Maybe I should tie Yuki down and force her to work at Jujutsu High too. Then I could really retire and live easy. Master, between you and him, who's stronger? Maki adjusted her glasses, curiosity gleaming in her eyes. What do you think? Shinsuke tilted his head at her. I'm not sure. She thought it over carefully. By common sense, the title of strongest sorcerer was enough proof that Gojo stood at the top. But as Shinsuke's disciple, she couldn't quite accept that. After all, he wasn't even technically a sorcerer, so how could Gojo's title apply? His special grade 1 label was only a rough measure. In truth, she doubted her master's power was limited to that tier. And you, Mai? Who do you think's stronger? Shinsuke turned to her twin. Mai furrowed her brows in deep thought before declaring with utter seriousness. I think brother's stronger. Oh? And why is that? Shinsuke raised an eyebrow, half expecting some hidden insight. Because. Mai put her hands on her hips. Gojo Satoru doesn't look scary at all. But you, brother, you made me cry just by looking at me that first time. So clearly, you're way stronger. Shinsuke. Maki. Chapter 38, Passionate Kinji Hikari, and the Androgynous Hoshi Kirara. The next day. By the time Shinsuke Zen'in arrived at Jujutsu High, 2 students had already been waiting in the classroom for quite a while. The spacious room was nearly empty, just those 2 newcomers and an increasingly impatient Gojo Satoru. Finally! Oniai-san, ever heard of punctuality? Gojo complained. You never gave me an exact time. Shinsuke shot back casually. He was, in his own way, always punctual. If the instruction was morning, then showing up at 11 o'clock still counted as morning, didn't it? Gojo was left speechless. He sighed and waved the matter away. Fine, my bad. Anyway, you two, come here. Starting today, this guy is your homeroom teacher. Any problems, take them to him. Of course, if you've got questions about jujutsu techniques, you can come to me, or other instructors. He herded the 2 bewildered students toward Shinsuke, then straightened up. Get acquainted. I've got things to handle. With that, Gojo vanished, leaving the students in the care of a man who looked far too relaxed for the role. Shinsuke ignored Gojo's exit and studied the pair in front of him, 1 male and 1 effeminate boy. Introduce yourselves. The more mature-looking young man stepped up first. Kinji Hikari. Male. I like doing things with passion. Then the other chimed in, looking like a delicate girl with lip piercings. Hoshi Kirara. Female. I don't really have any special hobbies. Shinsuke frowned. You think I can't tell you're a guy? A trap is still a trap. Nothing shameful about that. You saw through me, huh? Fine. Kirara stuck his tongue out playfully. He'd hoped to slip by unnoticed. I'm Zen'in Shinsuke. Call me Zen'in Sensei or Shinsuke Sensei, either works. I don't care much for rules, but I do have one requirement. By graduation, you'd better reach at least grade 1 sorcerer level. That was his only demand. And honestly, he believed both of them could achieve it. With a little luck, Hikari might even push into special grade territory, though the old fossils on the higher-ups council would sooner die than recognize him as such. Sensei, are you from the Zen'in clan? Hikari asked. Yes and no. Not something you need to worry about. Shinsuke gave them both a long look. From now on, if you've got problems with techniques, go to Gojo. If it's missions or emergencies, call me. He handed over his contact info, then dusted off his hands like he'd finished his job. That's it for today. Train hard at the school, aim for grade 1. I've got things to do, so I'm leaving. Call if you need me. And just like that, he walked out, leaving the 2 rookies staring at the empty classroom in stunned silence. Doesn't this teacher seem a bit unreliable? Hikari muttered. Gojo himself hadn't exactly inspired confidence either. For 2 students just stepping into the jujutsu world, it felt like they'd drawn the short straw. Kirara chewed his gum thoughtfully. Before coming, I did some digging. That white-haired guy? He's the strongest sorcerer alive, bar none. As for Zen'in Sensei, he's technically a grade 1 in terms of ability, but he can't use jujutsu techniques. Doesn't even have cursed energy. Kirara smirked. He's from the Zen'in clan, but rumor is he's not on good terms with them. So what do we do now? Kirara asked, blowing a bubble. How the hell should I know? Hikari rubbed his temple. Is this school even reliable? At the very least, we should ask other teachers what we're supposed to do. So the two of them wandered around the campus like headless flies, and thus began their lives as jujutsu sorcerers. For several months, their so-called homeroom teacher might as well have vanished. Zen'in Shinsuke never showed up, happily pocketing his inflated salary while leaving them to their own devices. But good things never last. One day, his phone rang. Moshi Moshi, is this Zen'in Sensei? The voice sounded familiar. Shinsuke paused, then remembered. Hikari Kinji? Yeah, it's me, Sensei. So, here's the thing. Kirara and I took on a promotion mission to advance to grade 2. Problem is, we're required to have a teacher accompany us. Hikari quickly explained the situation. Normally, they'd never bother disturbing their absentee teacher. Honestly, they'd enjoyed the freedom of being left alone. But this time, they had no choice. Grade 2 promotion, huh? Shinsuke exhaled, realizing his vacation days were officially over. Shinsuke thought it over. So it's already been a few months, huh? Talent really was different. In just a handful of months, these two were already qualified to attempt the Grade 2 Sorcerer Promotion exam. Alright, I got it. For a Grade 2 exam, the requirement was simple: exorcise at least a Grade 2 curse. But with prodigies, things were rarely so simple. If they ran into an accident, say, a Grade 1 showing up, well, Shinsuke could take care of that himself. He strapped a plain longsword, a serviceable curse tool, at his side and headed for Jujutsu High. Time to accompany his so-called students on their test. When he arrived, Kinji Hikari and Hoshi Kirara weren't alone. Standing with them was an irritated young girl with hands on her hips, Amini Riko. Oi, old man. You call yourself their teacher? Do you even realize I've been the one teaching them these past few months? Her tone dripped with outrage. Gojo had been too busy dealing with Suguragedo's growing mess, so Riko had been roped into cover, teaching Hikari and Kirara the basics of cursed energy and techniques. For free. The paycheck, of course, still went into Shinsuke's pocket. She did the work. He took the money. Ah. That explains it, Shinsuke muttered. No wonder the two hadn't come looking for him. Amini had been filling in. Want me to transfer you a month's salary? He offered after scratching his head. Any more than that, though, and he wasn't budging. Forget it, Riko waved dismissively. I only squeezed out a bit of time each week anyway. I'll just crash at your place for dinner a few more times. She wasn't actually after money. She just wanted to vent at this deadbeat sensei. Fine by me. You're always welcome. Good. Then I'll leave these two brats to you. Don't screw up their promotion test. Got it. Shinsuke smiled faintly. Riko made a hand gesture and added, they're talented. Maybe try putting a little effort into being a teacher, huh? Shinsuke's grin widened. He had his own philosophy. Talents are best when left alone, they'll carve out their own paths. He turned to Hikari and Kirara. Let's go, little geniuses. Time for your first real mission. Both students twitched at the title. Yep. Our homeroom teacher is definitely unreliable. Still, both were confident in themselves. It was only a Grade 2 exam. Piece of cake. Chapter 39, Suguragedo's Frustration. Sensei, you don't need to step in. Lead it to us. On the way, Kinji Hikari leaned back with his hands behind his head, relaxed and cocky, as if the Grade 2 promotion exam were nothing more than a formality. Beside him, Kirara Hoshi looked equally unconcerned. After months of training, they had fought plenty of curses already. With their strength and coordination, a Grade 2 exam shouldn't even need a teacher's supervision. You're pretty confident, Zen'in Shinsuke remarked, watching their carefree attitudes. He didn't comment further, only added lightly. My rule when accompanying students on missions is simple: so long as you're still breathing, I won't interfere. Even better. Hikari grinned wider. He was still in the honeymoon phase of curse hunting, full of passion. And when Hikari got passionate, he threw himself into it 100%. According to the intel, this time it's a grade 2 curse, Kirara added. About a few dozen kilometers from here. Once we exorcise it, we'll be done. The three travel by car, arriving an hour later at the base of a mountain just outside the city. A foul stench seeped from a large drainage tunnel. Parked at the entrance was a garbage truck, and a sanitation worker in full gear and a face mask was clearing out refuse. You sure this is the place? Don't tell me that's a damn sewer entrance? Hikari wrinkled his nose as black sludge trickled out. Exactly. It is the sewer. Kirara pulled out 3 masks and handed them one each. Unless something's off, the curse is hiding inside. Swish! Ah! Before Kirara finished speaking, a white silk thread lashed out from the darkness, coiling around the sanitation worker and yanking him screaming into the depths. The three exchanged looks. That confirmed it, this was the spot. Come on! If we don't move, he's dead. Hikari darted in without hesitation, Kirara right on his heels. Shinsuke lingered at the entrance, expression sour. A sewer-dwelling curse. Just the thought made his stomach turn. Boom! Moments later, violent cursed energy rippled out of the tunnel. The fight had already begun. Sensing it, Shinsuke confirmed it was indeed only a grade 2 curse. That decided it. He shifted a few steps away from the reeking air and sat down to wait. They'll manage. No need to ruin my shoes in that filth. Inside the sewer. Hikari and Kirara followed the silk thread, quickly spotting their target, a human-sized spider curse, pale legs twitching in the darkness. So it's just a big spider. Hikari's lips curled with disdain. Forget the trash talk, save the worker first. Kirara shot back, glancing at the man wrapped up like a mummy in silk. Fine, let's end this quick. Hikari snapped his fingers. Rumble. A train materialized in the confined space, roaring down the tunnel and slamming into the spider curse. Scree! The monster screeched as its body was crushed against the wall. The train dissolved into cursed energy, leaving a glowing sigil seared into the spider's body. An identical mark lit up on the sewer wall. With a violent suction, the curse was yanked back. Bang! It smashed into the wall, ichor spraying, screeching in pain. Its 8 legs wrenched itself free, emerald eyes blazing with murderous light. SHHT! Threads whipped from its abdomen, lashing toward the 2 students, while its mandibles spat a jet of green liquid, clearly venom. Hikari and Kirara dodged, but the acid splashed onto the cocoon sanitation worker. Ah! The man convulsed, flesh melting away in seconds until nothing but bones clattered to the ground. TCH. Hikari sucked in a breath through his teeth. Yeah, this one's got bite. A proper grade 2, at least. Kinji! Kirara shouted, eyes sharp. Don't give it another chance, finish it in one go. Kirara darted around the tunnel walls, slapping down cursed marks at different points, and on himself and Hikari, so they wouldn't get tangled up in their own attacks. All right. Time for the passionate part. Hikari's eyes lit up. His blood boiled with excitement as he went all in against the curse. With Kirara's abilities supporting him, Hikari could freely call down trains, dump trucks, even 100-ton beasts to smash into the spider curse. Over and over, the jackpot roared into existence, vehicles of every kind slamming into the half-human-sized spider. They were constructs of cursed energy, yes, but their destructive force was very real. For over 10 minutes, the barrage continued. At last, the spider's cursed energy ran dry. Its body crumpled under the relentless assault, collapsing into sludge before dissolving completely into nothingness. Done and dusted. Hikari raised his arms, tilting his head back with eyes closed, basking in the rush of victory, winning through sheer gambling thrill. Yeah, pity we couldn't save the guy, Kirara muttered, wiping sweat as he glanced at the sanitation workers' remains, nothing but a heap of bleached bones. Let's go. Nothing we could have done. In battle, protecting bystanders wasn't something they could manage, not yet. They were still grade 3 sorcerers, after all. This mission would only bump them up to grade 2, barely scratching the surface of real power. Still, with their techniques, it was only a matter of time. By graduation, they'd surely reach grade 1. If nothing else, semi-grade 1 was a given. Both relaxed now that the job was done, ready to head out. Swish! A thick strand of web, like a white bullet, shot from deeper in the sewer, piercing straight through both their abdomens. Guh! Blood sprayed from their mouths. Their eyes went wide with shock. In the next instant, the silk yanked them into the darkness like helpless prey. Only then did they realize spiders rarely lived alone. Damn it, it's a nest! The intel from Jujutsu High had been wrong. Again. With little mission experience, they didn't know how often the school's information was unreliable. Had they known, they might have been more cautious. Now, as they were dragged deeper, only one furious thought remained in their minds. Where the hell is our teacher? Outside the sewer. Zen'in Shinsuke found himself facing someone both unexpected and, in a way, inevitable. You've got to be kidding me. Do you just haunt me or something? Why the hell are you everywhere I go? Suguragedo glared at him, teeth clenched. Deep down, he felt a stab of unfairness. Did Shinsuke have any idea how hard it was to find decent curses these days? Ever since defecting from Jujutsu High, every time Gedo set his eyes on a promising curse, this guy showed up out of nowhere. And every damn time, Shinsuke butchered the curse right in front of him. Not a scrap left for Gedo to absorb. Guess we're fated, huh, Gedo? Shinsuke gave a lopsided smile. Though truthfully, he was a little surprised. Since when did Gedo bother with grade 2 curses? No, wrong. The realization hit him immediately. Suguragedo wouldn't waste time on a mere grade 2. Which meant, the real monsters were deeper inside. We'll catch up later. Right now I need to check if my students are still alive. And with that, Shinsuke vanished, slipping into the darkness below. Only now, distracted by Gedo's sudden appearance, did he notice it. Hikari and Kirara's cursed energy signatures had gone silent. You bastard. Gedo's face twisted with anger. He charged after him, determined. This time, he'd snatch the prey before Shinsuke could cut it down. Chapter 40, I'm not about to trust you that easily. Boom! Hikari Kinji and Kirara Hoshiro were yanked into the depths of the sewer, into a wide chamber where massive iron pipes lined the walls. The stench in the air was unbearable. They cut through the white threads with cursed energy, landing hard on the ground, then hastily used cursed energy to suppress the bleeding from their wounds. This has to be the nest, Hikari muttered, his expression grim. By the faint glow of cursed energy, the two saw the true horror around them, a web-choked cavern. White threads stretched in every direction, completely overtaking the sewer. From the ceiling, cocoon victims hung upside down like silkworm pupae, shapes all too human. And then, green eyes glowed in the darkness. 1 pair. 2 pairs. Dozens. The cursed spirits had them surrounded. 1, 2, 3. Kirara's voice trembled. 7 grade 2s, and 1 grade 1. Cold sweat poured down his face. 1 grade 2 would have been fine. But 7, plus a grade 1? That was far beyond their mission parameters. You scared, Kirara? To Hikari's surprise, he felt no fear. No, as his back pressed against the wall and his chances of escape dwindled, a wild exhilaration surged in his veins. What do you think? Kirara shot him a glare. Who wouldn't be afraid in this situation? He wasn't some masochist. Hikari smirked. When you're backed against the wall, that's when you go all in. Besides, Zen'in Sensei's still outside. If we can just hold out, he'll come. His heart steadied. The worst that could happen was death. So why not gamble for survival? Let's see who's luckier, us or them. Go! Hikari charged first, activating his technique. Kirara, gritting his teeth against the pain in his abdomen, followed up with his own curse technique. Hiss! The swarm struck back. White threads shot forward like spears, 7 or 8 at once, while the massive Grade 1, a towering 2-meter beast, vomited poison to cloud the battlefield and directed the Grade 2s to coordinate. In seconds, the pair were overwhelmed. Gah! Kirara's body was pierced by multiple threads, arms and legs shredded. His marks weren't nearly enough to cover all the curses. A giant web pinned him to the wall, his strength fading, vision going dark. Kirara! Hikari clutched his bleeding arm and tried to rush in, but the swarm's attacks came from every direction. In the next instant, he'd be skewered like a hedgehog. But instead of dodging, Hikari stopped. His gaze locked on the Grade 1 curse, and his lips twisted into a wild grin. So this is the end, huh? Fine, then I'll bet it all. With one hand, he formed a seal before his chest. His cursed energy surged violently. Domain expansion. The air warped. A new space unfolded. The curses were dragged inside against their will. Idle death gamble. HSSSSS. Inside the domain, the curses froze, powerless to strike as Hikari's jackpot ritual began. Outside the nest, Zen'in Shinsuke arrived just in time. His eyes swept over the chamber, quickly spotting Kirara cocooned in webbing. He still had a pulse. Good. Still alive. He yanked Kirara free and laid him gently on the ground. Only then did he turn, noticing the fractured barrier forming nearby. His eyes narrowed. This kid, impressive. A domain expansion, imperfect, unstable, but real. To achieve it this early was proof enough of Hikari's potential. If you succeed once, you can succeed again. Zen'in Sensei. Kirara rasped, forcing his eyes open to see the blurry figure before him. Sensei. Kinji, is he okay? He's fine. Rest now. Shinsuke reassured him, but his attention sharpened as another figure approached, the last person he wanted to see. Suguru Geto. Even he looked stunned at the crumbling domain. That's a first year? A good time for you to be here, Shinsuke said without hesitation. Help patch him up. Geto blinked. You're asking me to heal him? Do you even know what side I'm on? He was a curse user now, an enemy of Jujutsu High. Why the hell should he tend to one of their brats? Relax, Shinsuke waved it off. You can have the curse when it's done. I won't interfere. You've really back off? Geto's eyes sharpened. You heard me. That was all he needed. With a flick of his hand, Geto summoned a minor curse and set it to work, closing wounds, staunching blood loss, stabilizing Kirara's condition. Crash! The half-formed domain shattered like glass. Hikari was hurled out, battered and unconscious, right into Shinsuke's arms. He looked down at his student's face, bloody but alive. Hikari's lips curved into a weak smile. He had lost. But he had also won. His gamble had worked, his first domain had opened successfully. He just hadn't drawn the jackpot this time. In the end, Hikari's luck had been just strong enough to last until his teacher arrived. Roar! A hulking 3-meter spider curse howled in rage. This thing had come dangerously close to being slain by a mere human. If it hadn't devoured the 7 Grade 2s in time, it might have lost. Now swollen with their power, it had evolved, its aura pressing at the level of a quasi-special grade. Zen'in Shinsuke's eyes narrowed. Quasi-special, huh? Tempting. He was just about to make his move when... You promised. No interfering. Suguru Geto cut him off sharply, already summoning two of his strongest familiars. With a guttural roar, a rainbow-scaled dragon erupted forth, maw gaping wide to tear at the spider curse. Its hide shimmered with cursed energy, a beast easily ranked at least grade 1. At the same time, the ground split open to reveal a massive, one-eyed obese monk statue, the Skull Dharma. Its thick neck was adorned with a chain of skulls, its every movement radiating destructive force. Go! The Dharma surged forward. In an instant, its enormous fist punched clean through the spider's abdomen. The rainbow dragon's fangs clamped down next, tearing sinew and ichor apart. Together, the two familiars overwhelmed the freshly ascended quasi-special, dragging it down and ripping it to pieces before swallowing it whole. Geto exhaled, relief softening his tense shoulders. With that, the curse was his. Shinsuke, watching from the side, raised a brow. Really? I said I wouldn't take it. Did you have to panic like that? Where was the cool, calculating villain? This kid looked more like an anxious collector afraid of losing his prize. Humph. I'd be a fool to take your word for it so easily. Geto's eyes glinted as satisfaction spread across his face. It had been too long since he consumed a curse of this caliber, even if it was grotesque. The surge of strength felt intoxicating. He turned away without another word. I'm done here. And I hope this is the last time I run into you. His robes fluttered as he strode into the dark, vanishing with a practiced elegance. Shinsuke watched him go, lips quirking faintly. Still hasn't grasped the real secret of cursed spirit manipulation. If memory served, once you devoured a curse of quasi, grade 1 or higher, you could inherit its technique. And Geto hadn't even tapped into that yet. A shame to let a quasi-special go like that. The thought stung. He handed it over, for the sake of his student's safety. But in the end, Shinsuke knew, someday, Geto would cough it all back up. With interest. Chapter 41, The Pure Love Warlord appears. When Hikari Kinji and Kurara Hoshi woke up again, they found themselves lying in the infirmary at Jujutsu High. Awake already? Congratulations, you're officially grade 2 sorcerers now. In a white coat, Shoko Ieri greeted them casually. Shoko-sensei, this is Jujutsu High? Where's Zen'in-sensei? Hikari pushed himself up, still dazed. He only remembered holding on until his teacher arrived. After that, nothing. He got dragged off by Gojo. Elsewhere in the school grounds, Zen'in Shinsuke and Gojo Satoru were chatting. You ran into Geto? Why didn't you bring him back? Gojo's question left Shinsuke speechless. You serious? That guy's a special grade. Besides, you couldn't bring yourself to finish off your best friend either, could you? Shinsuke gave him a look, as though he were staring at a sly fox. All right, let's drop that topic. Let's talk about those two kids instead. Gojo grinned. As their teacher, letting them get injured that badly, that's negligence. Gonna have to dock your pay. Shinsuke rolled his eyes. First of all, they didn't die. Second, Hikari actually managed to awaken domain expansion during that mission. A student making that much progress, shouldn't that earn bonus pay instead? Domain expansion? You're not kidding? For once, Gojo got serious. He knew Hikari's technique, risky, gambler's luck woven with modern science. Exactly the type of ability the conservative higher-ups hated. Personally, though, Gojo loved that kind of crazy uniqueness. So the brat really has that much talent, huh? Anyone who could touch domain expansion had the potential to be a grade 1 sorcerer, or higher. It's only a half-finished version. You should make some time to guide him properly. Stop worrying about your best buddy all day. You'll be seeing him soon enough. What's that supposed to mean? Gojo's eyes narrowed. Exactly what it sounds like. Shinsuke smirked, offering no spoilers. Anyway, I'm heading home for dinner. Leaving Gojo frowning at his back, teeth grinding. He hated Riddlers. Half a year passed. Hikari and Kirara successfully advanced to second year. With several missions and Gojo's tutelage, Hikari gradually refined his domain, eventually earning grade 1 status under the recommendation of Shinsuke and Riko Amanai. Kirara lagged slightly behind but was on track to hit grade 1 before graduation. Meanwhile, in that same half-year, Yuta Okatsu, the so-called pure love warlord, was dragged into the spotlight. Bullied at school, he had inadvertently awakened the terrifying cursed Queen Rika. The higher-ups, fearing her instability, wasted no time. They sentenced Yuta to death. And the one tasked with carrying out the execution was Zen'in Shinsuke. Why him? That came down to reputation. The higher-ups had two headaches. One was Gojo, too strong, too loud, utterly uncontrollable. The other was Shinsuke, utterly indifferent, doing whatever he wanted, obeying orders only when they happened to line up with his own whims. But after rumors spread that he was involved with Yuki Tsukumo, the council's opinion softened. Compared to her, Shinsuke was manageable. So, when it came time to eliminate the Cursed Queen's host, they decided Shinsuke was the perfect tool. His obsession with exterminating curses made him the safest bet. Even if the target was a special grade, they trusted he'd see it through. They questioned his personality, his loyalty, even his morality. But not his strength. Some had even whispered about promoting him to special grade, if only he had the scale of destructive power to wipe out a country. Pure martial skill, no matter how refined, wasn't enough for that rank. At the school gates, Shinsuke leaned against the wall, waiting for his target. He chuckled to himself. The higher-ups really sent me to kill Okatsu Yuta? Guess that's the butterfly effect for you. The bell rang, and students poured out of the school gates like a tidal wave. It had been a few days since Yuta Okatsu turned the tables on his bullies. Classes went on as usual. Aside from a handful of teachers and students, few knew what had really happened. From his spot, Zen'in Shinsuke caught sight of Yuta. The boy looked gaunt and defeated, moving timidly with his head down. One glance was enough to tell he was someone used to being bullied. The other students instinctively kept at least 3 meters away from him, as though he carried some plague. After all, everyone who used to push him around had already met a grisly end. No one dared test their luck again. "Kid," Shinsuke said, stepping into Yuta's path. He looked down, voice casual but heavy. "Come with me. Someone's paid for your head." The crowd of students widened their circle even further, not wanting to provoke this rough-looking man who radiated danger. Yuta froze, then slowly lifted his head. His eyes were hollow, but there was no fear in them. Is this because of what happened to them? Of course. Take a life, and you owe a life. Shinsuke's lips curled into a faint smile. Yuta. No one is allowed to hurt Yuta. A surge of monstrous cursed energy exploded behind him. Rika clawed her way out of a rift, hands stretching wide, ready to tear Shinsuke apart. Rika, stop! Don't! Yuta shouted in panic, rushing to calm her. The last thing he wanted was more death on his conscience. TCH, what a terrifying curse. Shinsuke felt the pressure radiating from her and couldn't help but whistle softly. No wonder Gojo had called her troublesome. No wonder Geto had lost everything to her. The curse of love truly was something else. Relax. Killing people demands punishment, but killing beasts doesn't. Just come with me. He didn't push further. If he kept provoking, Rika would snap. Yuta lowered his head and silently followed. He didn't know what awaited him, but he understood one thing: what had happened to him couldn't remain unanswered. On the way, Shinsuke studied him with a click of his tongue. Talent really was a cruel thing. All because Yuta carried the bloodline of one of the 3 great vengeful spirits. All because he happened to be related to Gojo Satoru. Without even trying, he'd been gifted the Cursed Queen. With just a bit of effort, he would inevitably rise to special grade. Meanwhile, Maki and Mai had to claw their way forward with everything they had, only to barely reach grade 1 at best. Their peak wasn't even his starting line. That thought made Shinsuke sigh. He resolved then, Maki must be pushed further. She had to at least reach the point of exorcising a special grade. As for Mai, well, she never had much interest in being strong. Best to let her keep coasting in peace. Chapter 42, Playing Both Sides, Maki's Decision. I brought the kid. The rest isn't my problem. Zen'in Shinsuke swaggered into Jujutsu High with Yuta Okatsu in tow, leading him straight into a chamber lined with talismans. You'll be staying here. Whether you ever walk out again depends on your luck. After hanging up his phone, he tossed the words at Yuta like they were nothing. Aren't they going to judge me? Yuta blinked in confusion. Even if they didn't demand his life in exchange, shouldn't there at least be some kind of punishment? Judgment? I didn't get paid to care about that. With a wave of his hand, Shinsuke turned and left. He still had to collect his assassination fee from the higher-ups. Once alone, Yuta stared at the talisman-covered walls, his stomach knotting with unease. Was this his punishment? To be sealed in here forever? You're Yuta Okatsu, right? Ah! He nearly jumped out of his skin. Gojo Satoru had appeared beside him without a sound. Relax, relax. You're safe. I paid 10 million yen for you, after all. So loosen up. Originally, Gojo had wanted to handle Yuta's case himself. When the higher-ups exposed Yuta's incident, Gojo dug into his background. There was no way an ordinary curse from an ordinary boy could have that kind of power. His suspicions were right. Yuta's lineage traced back to the three great vengeful spirits, and more than that, there was likely a blood tie to the Gojo family itself. A talent like this shouldn't just be erased. But before Gojo could make his move, the higher-ups had already dumped the mission on Shinsuke. Knowing Shinsuke's obsession with curses, Gojo called ahead, making him promise to spare Yuta's life. The price, 10 million yen. In other words, Yuta's life had literally been bought. Good thing Gojo was a special grade who never needed money, otherwise, at this rate, Shinsuke would bleed him dry. Who are you? Yuta asked hesitantly. This didn't feel like punishment at all. I'm Gojo Satoru. Your future teacher. Gojo decided then and there Yuta would be hidden from the higher-ups for now. If Shinsuke handed in his mission only for Yuta to stroll around campus alive the next day, that would raise too many questions. Gojo clicked his tongue. He'd actually covered for Shinsuke. That alone was reason enough to make sure the man paid for it later. Meanwhile, Shinsuke had already gone to report in. The boy's dead? Yeah. His tone was cool and indifferent. Bringing Yuta into Jujutsu High in broad daylight had been deliberate. As far as anyone else needed to know, the mission was complete. Whether Yuta was alive or not was irrelevant, the job was done. Where's the body? Still at Jujutsu High. If you're that worried, go bother Gojo, he took care of it. He shamelessly tossed the blame onto Gojo. After all, the strongest sorcerer could shoulder it, and the higher-ups didn't like him anyway. Silence from the other side of the door. Suspicion lingered, but no one pressed further. The payment will be transferred to your account. And with that, the conversation ended. Shinsuke left whistling, another 10 million richer. Between the higher-ups and Gojo, neither side seemed short on cash. Perfect sheep to fleece. At the Zen'in estate, inside the clan head's chambers, Naobito Zen'in sat cross-legged with a sake cup in hand, eyeing Maki. So, you really won't join the Kakuri unit? You're of age now, your talent is mediocre. If you don't join, what exactly do you plan to do? I know you're close with Shinsuke, and you want to be strong like him. But you don't have his talent, or his guts. His words were blunt, cruel even, but realistic. Maki's limits were clear. The twins' curse wasn't something one could just shrug off. The cases of Toji and Shinsuke were 1 in a million. I'll become strong enough to take the Zen'in clan head seat with my own power. And when I do, I'll make you all shut up. Maki's grip tightened around her staff. Her gaze was firm as she turned to leave. She already been stuck at this bottleneck too long, it was time to break through. Naobito burst out laughing, nearly spilling his drink. Ha ha ha. I'll be waiting for the day you become clan head. He didn't fault her determination, her spirit was commendable. But the Zen'in family wasn't so easily conquered. The next head had long been decided. Before leaving the estate, Maki stopped to see Shinsuke. Master, she said, her eyes resolute, I've decided. I'm going to Jujutsu High. Zen'in Maki stood tall, her gaze unwavering. The decision was made, her path forward was clear. Her strength had hit a wall. If she wanted to break through, she needed real combat, facing more sorcerers, more curses. Nothing else would do. Then go, Zen'in Shinsuke said calmly. Have you told Mai? He didn't object. He had already taught Maki everything he could. In pure taijutsu, she was now on par with any grade 1 sorcerer. But her physical body still lagged behind. And without cursed energy, her overall strength was only around grade 2 or 3. With a special grade curse tool in hand, though, she could probably take down a grade 2 curse on her own. No. I don't plan on telling her. Maki shook her head. She knew her sister too well. Mai had grown bolder these last few years, yes, but deep down, she never intended to resist the Zen'in clan. In her heart, such a thing was impossible for the two of them. But what Mai didn't want, Maki did. She would force the clan into silence with her own hands. As for her sister? Let Mai live more comfortably. This fight was always the elder sister's burden to bear. The business between you two sisters isn't something I'll interfere with, Shinsuke said. Inside, you'll find Playing Cloud. Take it with you. You're serious? Maki's eyes went wide. For a moment she froze, then her whole body lit up with excitement. For people like them, cursed tools weren't just important, they were everything. And Shinsuke was actually entrusting her with a special grade curse tool. How could she not be moved? His trust burned inside her, solidifying her resolve. Even if not to slap the Zen'in clan's face, she would persist, for her master's faith in her, if nothing else. Take it. But remember, our training duels are still with ordinary tools. Got it! With a sharp nod, Maki dashed into the room, hands trembling slightly as she lifted Playing Cloud at last. The weight, the aura, it was overwhelming. She gave it a light swing, and the raw power pulsed through her arms. And yet she knew, this weapon, mighty as it was, had once been broken in her master's hands. Just how much strength did it take to shatter something like this? Watching her brimming excitement, Shinsuke allowed himself a faint smile. Someday, he murmured, I hope you can draw out its true strength. Chapter 43, The Limits of This Martial Art. It had only been a few days since Zen'in Maki left the clan for Tokyo Jujutsu High when Shinsuke found himself facing Zen'in Mai's tearful complaint. She showed up at his house looking utterly dejected, like someone who had just been abandoned, her expression pitiful enough to tug at anyone's heart. Brother. Sister abandoned me. Mai's voice was faint as she lifted her head, eyes clouded with confusion. Shinsuke's cheek twitched. Abandoned? Really? Wasn't it just that Maki hadn't discussed things with her? He almost laughed, but seeing Mai on the verge of tears, he swallowed his sarcasm and instead asked gently. You already know? I overheard her talking with the clan head, Mai admitted, her voice trembling. I waited. I kept waiting for her to tell me herself. But the only news I heard was that she had already left the Zen'in family. That could only mean one thing, Maki had left her behind. Was it because I'm useless? Mai thought bitterly. Because I'm too weak? Don't be so heartbroken. Maybe she just didn't want you to worry, Shinsuke offered. He had long expected the sisters' relationship to splinter like this. So that's why she told you before she left, but not me? Mai's lips tightened. She was no longer the little girl who could be tricked with a few comforting words. You're jealous? Shinsuke raised a brow. The moment he caught that resentful little glare, it all clicked. Mai wasn't truly angry about being left behind, she was sulking because Maki had confided in him but not in her. No way! Why would I be jealous of you, brother? She snapped, turning her head aside. But her pout gave her away completely, like she had hung the vinegar jar right off her lips. Alright. If you really want answers, go to Tokyo and ask Maki yourself. Beats sitting here stewing in jealousy. Shinsuke sighed. Honestly, what was with this kid's possessiveness? She might as well just marry her sister and be done with it. Brother! I told you I'm not jealous. Mai whipped back around, cheeks flushed red, not from anger, but from the embarrassment of being seen through so easily. And I'm not going to her. If she looks down on me, then I'll prove her wrong. Her eyes burned with a determination Shinsuke rarely saw. Prove her wrong? How? By being stronger than her, he asked, a smile tugging at his lips. I'll prove that I can stand beside her. That I can help her. If her sister thought she was useless, then she'd prove otherwise, no matter how hard it was. And how exactly are you planning to do that? I'll defeat her. Mai clenched her fists tightly, as if making an oath. Pfft, ha ha ha. Shinsuke burst out laughing. From his perspective, her declaration was just too funny. He didn't want to crush her spirit, but the truth was, beating Maki would be nearly impossible. Unless Mai could somehow patch the fundamental flaw in her cursed technique, her chances were slim. Brother! You're laughing at me again. I won't forgive you. She stomped her foot, cheeks puffed. Deep down, she knew it was a near impossible goal. But still, she was a sorcerer, wasn't she? If she worked hard enough, maybe, just maybe, she could do it. Brother, I'm going to Kyoto Jujutsu High. Just you wait, one day I'll prove you wrong. With that fiery declaration, Mai stormed off, her little figure practically vibrating with indignation. This time, she was serious. She'd break ties if she had to. She'd fight her sister, and she'd keep fighting until even her brother had to stop laughing at her. Still just a kid, Shinsuke muttered, shaking his head as he watched her disappear into the distance. Her body had grown, but her mindset was still childish. A few years of hardship outside would probably fix that. After sending Mai away, Shinsuke didn't linger at home. Instead, he decided to check in on his nephew. By next year, once school was finished, that kid should be enrolling at Jujutsu High. After all, the boy had never liked the Zen'in clan much. While living there, Fushiguro Megumi had always felt the clan members were deliberately trying to curry favor with him. It wasn't the kind of place he could call home. Shinsuke arrived at a small restaurant. The lunch rush had long passed, and the dining hall was nearly empty. Boss, bring me one of everything on the menu, he called casually the moment he stepped inside. Behind the counter, Toji's face darkened the instant he saw that familiar face. You gonna eat all that? Or are you just here to bankrupt me? Ever since taking in Megumi and Sumiki, Toji had used his last savings to buy out a small restaurant. With work for assassins drying up and 2 kids to care for, he had no interest in making more enemies. Sure, every mission he had taken in the past was tied up cleanly, but there was always the chance someone slipped through the cracks. Better to give up the assassin life altogether. Now he ran this place as the owner, hired a few workers, dropped by when needed, and spent the rest of his time training. Who do you think you're underestimating? Just bring it all out, less nonsense, Shinsuke said, making himself comfortable like he owned the place. After all, he never paid anyway. Toji shot him a look, then turned to the waiter clearing tables. Give him the cheapest set meal we have. Got it, boss! Hey, don't be stingy, Toji! Shinsuke protested. Toji ignored him. He had 2 kids to raise, and Sumiki's expensive nutrient solutions for her condition weren't cheap. He had to save where he could. In fact, he had already made plans. If Megumi refused to go back to the Zen'in clan for the inheritance, then he'd send him off to Jujutsu High. With his unreliable older brother working there as a teacher, at least someone could keep an eye on him. By the way, Toji, Shinsuke asked, brushing past the stinginess, how's the training going? You opened the fourth gate yet? It had been years since Toji asked him to unlock the fourth acupuncture gate. If he hadn't been slacking off, he should be just about there by now. Give me a couple more days, Toji replied. Then, almost reluctantly, he asked, tell me, how far can this taijutsu really go? He had been cultivating the 8 gates for over a decade. The deeper he went, the more terrifying the technique felt, but also the more difficult. Each new stage took exponentially longer. Just producing a wisp of blood energy now felt 100 times harder than it had when he first started. How many do you think there are? Shinsuke chuckled, tossing the question back. The 8 gates were nothing like cursed techniques. A genius sorcerer could develop their technique to the limit at a young age, reaching their peak early. But this taijutsu was different. It required grinding down the flesh and bone over time, slow, patient refinement of the body itself. 5? Toji guessed. Each gate he had opened gave him an entirely different feeling, each amplifying his strength more than the last. At this rate, he figured his ceiling was the 5th. Any more than that felt impossible. Close enough. Shinsuke didn't elaborate. Toji wasn't wrong, an ordinary man without cursed energy usually topped out at 5 gates. If not for his cheat, Shinsuke himself would likely have been stuck there as well. Chapter 44, Gojo wants to throw hands. To what level have you cultivated now? Toji fixed his gaze on Shinsuke. This carefree brother of his was living far too leisurely. By now, he should have at least opened the 5th gate, right? That was Toji's guess. Just a little ahead of you, Shinsuke replied lightly. Then he waved the subject away. Enough questions. After I eat, I'm going to check on my nephew and niece. After mooching another free meal, Shinsuke and Toji returned home. He checked on Sumiki's condition, then talked to Megumi about enrolling at Jujutsu High. Megumi didn't object. In fact, he welcomed it. He'd studied long enough, it was about time he tested himself in real combat. A month passed quickly. Finally, Gojo Satoru brazenly brought Okatsu Yuta out into the open, parading him before the Jujutsu world. When the higher-ups learned the truth, they realized they'd been tricked by Shinsuke and Gojo working in tandem. Furious, they immediately tried to hold the two accountable. But when they confronted them, both men wore the same infuriatingly indifferent expressions. The elders could do nothing. If not for Gojo's guarantee that Yuta would be cultivated into a sorcerer on par with himself, those old fossils might have actually died from anger. In the end, the higher-ups compromised. Yuta's death sentence was cancelled, changed to a suspended sentence instead. His future would depend on his later performance. Still pays to have a special grade throwing his weight around, Shinsuke quipped with a smirk, glancing at Gojo. Is that so? Then I should have marched him out a month ago, Gojo muttered, sitting on the steps at Jujutsu High's front gate, scratching his head irritably. Truthfully, Shinsuke could have brought Yuta out the moment he collected his pay. But out of consideration for the higher-ups' fragile pride, they waited a month. And sure enough, the elders only ended up annoyed instead of apoplectic. If they'd revealed the trick immediately, some of those old men might have keeled over on the spot. By the way, Gojo asked suddenly, that Zen'in Maki kid who enrolled this year, she was the one hanging around your place back then, right? Why'd you send her here? This year's freshman class had 4 students in total, including Yuta. Quite the crop. Gojo had recognized Maki at a glance. That faint, almost non-existent cursed energy? He'd never seen anything like it anywhere else. She came of her own will, Shinsuke replied with a grin. She wants to become stronger. You're her homeroom teacher now, aren't you? Do your job properly. You're the last person qualified to lecture me about responsibility, Gojo deadpanned. Shinsuke ignored the jab. Anyway, 1 year from now, my nephew will be enrolling here too. Make sure you guide him well. He's going to be the strongest sorcerer of this generation. Gojo. Forget it. I'm not taking him. You want him trained? Do it yourself. I'm busy. If it weren't for Yuta, I wouldn't be wasting my time babysitting students in the first place. Gojo Satoru refused without hesitation. Of course, he knew about Megumi. The kid had awakened the Zen'in clan's inherited technique, no different from when he himself had awakened both Limitless and Six Eyes as a child. Sooner or later, the higher-ups would learn about it too. Megumi had the potential to become one of the strongest. If Gojo had the time, he wouldn't actually mind mentoring a few more students. But the problem was Shinsuke. That guy was supposed to be a teacher, yet he kept tossing everything onto Gojo's plate. His time, already scarce, vanished every time Shinsuke showed up. Didn't teach his own students. Wanted to pawn off his own nephew. And this wasn't just anyone's kid, it was the son of the man who once tried to assassinate Gojo himself. By rights, there was blood grudge between him and Toji. Shinsuke had smoothed it over somehow, but now Gojo was being asked to raise his enemy's child? The thought almost amused him. No problem. Just take it as doing me a favor. You'll have the time. Shinsuke shoved his hands into his pockets and strolled away with that infuriating grin. This guy. Gojo's brow twitched as he watched him go. Still as annoying as ever. One day, I really will beat the crap out of him. He'd been wanting to use a sparring match as an excuse to rough Shinsuke up for ages. But every time, Shinsuke turned him down. Not the right time. That's childish. Always some excuse. If Gojo tried forcing it, the bastard would just flee outright. Never played along. It was maddening. With a sigh, Gojo shook his head and went back inside Jujutsu High. Sooner or later, I'll get my chance. When he stepped into the classroom, chaos greeted him. Yuta was pleading desperately while Rika rampaged, tearing through his three new classmates, Panda, Inumaki, and Maki. Rika, stop! They weren't trying to hurt me. But Rika was enraged, reacting to their hostility. Anyone who dares harm Yuta must die. It wasn't even Yuta they resented. It was her. What kind of student showed up to class trailed by a nightmarish, towering curse? Of course they were on guard. Gojo clapped his hands sharply. Pa. That's enough. Settle down. This is your new teammate, Okatsu Yuta. Rika's fury subsided at his command. Oh, a new classmate? Ha, I thought a curse user had invaded campus, Panda muttered, scratching his head in relief. Inumaki said nothing. Maki only gave Yuta a cool glance. Yuta's face turned red. He fidgeted nervously. I'm Okatsu Yuta, please take care of me. He was no good with people. Even with Rika's overwhelming power at his side, his timidity and lack of confidence showed through. Perhaps that was Rika's fault too. All right, Gojo said, from today, study hard. In a week, I'll arrange a curse extermination mission for you all. At that, Maki's eyes lit up. Her hands tightened around her long-bladed naginata. She'd chosen the right place. As long as she kept fighting curses, she'd eventually pass her teacher's test. A week later, the group gathered outside a school wrapped in a barrier. Inside lurked their target. Gojo's intent was clear, he wanted Yuta to rebuild his confidence. From the outside, he watched Rika tear into the curse with brutal savagery, and couldn't help but sigh. What a terrifying thing. Even as the strongest sorcerer alive, he could feel how troublesome Rika was. No wonder the higher-ups wanted Yuta dead so badly. Gojo-sensei, we did it! Yuta emerged from the building, carrying two unconscious children on his back. Maki followed behind, leaning heavily on her blade, barely on her feet. The curse they faced had been near grade 1. If not for timid Yuta, Maki would never have managed it alone unless she had playful Cloud. She glanced up at the rooftop, where Rika still snarled and ripped apart the curse's remains. Her expression hardened. So this is why he's classified special grade. When she first met him, she hadn't understood why Yuta started as a special grade. But now, seeing the monstrous queen curse firsthand, she realized the truth. Their new teammate wasn't like them. He was a born prodigy. Chapter 45, Gojo's Open Conspiracy. With Gojo Satoru's help, Okatsu Yuta gradually regained his confidence and began integrating into life at Jujutsu High. Under the guidance of his 3 first-year classmates, Yuta trained hard and grew at a rapid pace. Meanwhile, Geto Suguru, now running the cult to line his pockets, caught wind of Rika's existence. The Cursed Queen became his next target. Inside the cult's headquarters, the floor was still smeared with blood. Geto, dressed in loose monk's robes, sat at the head seat, surrounded by sorcerers who shared his ideology. He had just finished squeezing the last drop of wealth from a local tycoon. Now he sat, student ID of Okatsu Yuta in hand, contemplating how best to lure the boy in. The Queen of Curses. If he could claim her, his plans would advance dramatically. After all, the very fact that Yuta was designated a special grade by the higher-ups, solely because of Rika, proved she was far from an ordinary curse. A thin smile curled across Geto's lips. Let's go. Time to meet this kid face to face. He already had a plan. If Yuta was willing to side with him, then there would be no need for violence. If not, then he'd take Rika by force. Geto summoned a flying curse, mounted with his followers, and set off for Jujutsu High. At that same moment, within Jujutsu High itself, a different discussion was taking place. Several faculty members gathered as Gojo voiced his newest proposal. I think sorcerers should be trained comprehensively. Techniques are important, sure, but so is taijutsu. When cursed energy runs dry, a sorcerer who has no physical skills is as good as dead. But if they've honed their body, they can still fight. Look at history, every strong sorcerer had solid fundamentals in hand-to-hand combat. So rather than letting students slowly figure it out in life-or-death battles, why not introduce a dedicated taijutsu curriculum here at the school? Lay the foundation now, and they'll master it much faster in real combat. That way, Jujutsu High will produce stronger sorcerers overall. What do you think, Principal Yaga? Gojo spoke with conviction, sounding every bit like he was earnestly considering the future of Jujutsu High. Riko Amanai sat nearby, struggling not to burst out laughing. Principal Yaga rubbed his temples. He glanced at Gojo, then at Riko barely holding it in, and finally at Zen'in Shinsuke, who looked ready to throttle someone. It wasn't hard to tell what was going on here. Gojo clearly just wanted to force some work onto Shinsuke, who was too laid back for his taste. Nanami, what's your opinion? Yaga turned toward Kento Nanami, who had recently returned to Jujutsu High as a sorcerer. Nanami looked far more polished than during his student days, hair combed immaculately, suit crisp, posture straight. Among those present, he alone looked like a respectable professional. He sipped his tea calmly, then caught Shinsuke glaring at him with a look that seemed to say, agree to this, and you're dead. Or maybe that was just Nanami's imagination. I think this is something the principal should decide. I'm just an ordinary sorcerer here. Yaga's lips twitched. What a perfectly useless answer. In that case, Yaga said, turning at last to the man in question, what about you, Shinsuke? If we do open a taijutsu course, you'd obviously be the one teaching it. When it came to taijutsu, Zen'in Shinsuke was the undisputed specialist, a master of pure close combat. Principal Yaga will decide. I'm a teacher here, so naturally, I'll follow the principal's arrangements, Shinsuke said calmly, his tone flat. Huh? Gojo blinked in surprise. He hadn't expected that. This guy didn't refuse? It didn't really matter either way, Gojo had already decided that the taijutsu course would happen. Still, Shinsuke's total lack of resistance gave him a strange, uneasy feeling. Wasn't this guy supposed to hate troublesome responsibilities? Yaga coughed lightly and seized the moment. In that case, it's settled. Shinsuke, you'll take charge of the taijutsu course. Don't worry, I'll report it to the higher-ups and arrange for your salary to be increased threefold. He didn't give Shinsuke a chance to object. The truth was, while Gojo's motives weren't exactly pure, his argument did make sense. Sorcerers shouldn't just rely on techniques, taijutsu was essential too. And with a living taijutsu master on staff, it would be a waste not to use him. I have no objections, Shinsuke replied simply. He wasn't against teaching, it was only Gojo he disliked. With Maki now at the Tokyo campus, Mai off to Kyoto, and Fushiguro Megumi soon to enroll, sticking around Jujutsu High didn't sound so bad. Besides, he'd have a better excuse to stay involved in the main events to come, and squeeze a little more wool out of the higher-ups while he was at it. Wow, uncle, you're actually taking this seriously. You didn't even complain. Amani Riko said, genuinely surprised. Wait a second, that's not fair. Gojo shot up, glaring at Yaga. Principal, you're giving him a raise? At this rate, he's going to make more than me, the strongest sorcerer alive. This matter is decided, Yaga said flatly, ignoring him. Gojo's protests bounced off harmlessly. The principal might not be able to overpower Gojo in combat, but as his former homeroom teacher, Yaga didn't need to give him any face. Hey! Principal! Did you hear me? I'm officially protesting. Gojo nearly slammed the table in frustration. He had wanted Shinsuke to take on more work, not more money. Immature brat. Learn from Nanami, he's far more composed than you. Shinsuke smirked as he looked at Gojo's helpless rage. You, what's that supposed to mean? Say that again. Let's fight, right here, right now. Do it, uncle. Fight him. Riko cheered from the sidelines, eager for drama. Shinsuke waved it off. Still such a child. Who even settles things with one-on-one duels anymore? Nanami straightened his tie and calmly continued sipping tea. Yaga pressed a hand to his forehead, exasperated. Honestly, these people, they're supposed to be teachers. If the students saw this circus, what would they think? All at once, everyone stiffened. A surge of twisted cursed energy seeped into the barrier of Jujutsu High. He's back. Gojo's eyes narrowed as he recognized the familiar aura. In the blink of an eye, he vanished from the meeting room. Geto? Riko and Yaga exchanged looks, then hurried to follow. Geto Suguru, here to make a statement, huh? Shinsuke mused as he stood, stretching lazily. Figures. Harvest season's almost here. He turned to Nanami. Want to go greet your beloved senior? Nanami glanced at his watch, then shook his head. It's past my shift. I'm off duty. Fine. Shinsuke chuckled and strolled out at an unhurried pace, muttering to himself, another poor soul driven mad by the grind. Chapter 46, Night Parade of 100 Demons, A Bountiful Harvest? At the gates of Tokyo Jujutsu High, Suguru Geto, flanked by his followers, crossed paths with the returning first-year squad of 4. You must be Okatsu Yuta. As expected, you look quite promising. Geto grasped Yuta's hands with a little too much enthusiasm, leaving the boy stiff with nerves. Let me introduce myself. I'm your senior, Geto Suguru. I came here specifically to see you. And me? Why are you looking for me? Yuta asked, bewildered. Panda and Maki immediately shifted into fighting stances. Careful, Yuta. He's a curse user now, an enemy of Jujutsu High. Panda warned. Geto waved a hand disarmingly. No need to be so tense. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to ask for help. He looked at Yuta with a solemn, almost passionate expression. Yuta-kun, I have a dream. A grand plan. I want to eradicate all non-sorcerers, and create a world free of curses. But to make that happen, I need powerful cursed spirits. On my own, I have about a 20% chance of success. With Rika's power, though, that success rate jumps to 99%. Placing a hand on Yuta's shoulder, Geto's voice swelled with emotion. For the sake of this noble cause, lend me your strength. I refuse. Yuta didn't even hesitate. That kind of grand cause, that kind of rhetoric, it was clearly rotten. Think about it carefully. This isn't just for me, it's for the future of the world. Geto's persistence was cut short by a new voice. Give it up, Geto. He's not coming with you. Gojo Satoru appeared at Yuta's side, calm but firm. At the same time, Principal Yaga, Amanai Riko, and several other faculty members who had sensed the cursed energy arrived at the gate. Panda, Maki, and Toji let out a quiet sigh of relief. Facing a special-grade sorcerer was not something they could handle alone. Geto, it's not too late to turn back, Yaga urged. He couldn't help but feel responsible. After all, Geto had once been his student. Don't keep making the same mistake, Suguru. Riko added desperately, unwilling to see her old friend fall further. But Geto only scanned the crowd, his smile thin. Everyone's here, huh? Where's that annoying guy? I prepared a little gift for him. Yo, Geto-kun. Doing MLM pitches right at Jujutsu High? Business is booming, I see. Zen'in Shinsuke strolled up at his own pace, looking almost cheerful. Finally, the big harvest season's here. Even Geto's face as a villain felt oddly endearing in this moment. Good. The annoying one's here too. Now this is just about perfect. Geto's tone darkened, his smile turning cold. Riko will be mine. Jujutsu High won't be able to stop me. Listen carefully, on December 24th, I will unleash the night parade of 100 demons. 2 locations, Shinjuku, Tokyo, and Kyoto, the holy land of Jujutsu. I'll release over 1,000 curses in both cities. This is my declaration of war against the entire Jujutsu world. Be ready. He turned specifically to Shinsuke. Didn't you always love killing curses? This time, you can indulge yourself. Just try not to get torn apart while you're at it. With that, Geto released dozens of weak curses to harass the students, then soared off on a flying spirit with his followers in tow, leaving in a deliberately dramatic fashion. Gojo only watched him leave, making no move to strike. Tisk, kid's too impatient, Shinsuke muttered. A few thousand curses and he thinks he can challenge the whole Jujutsu world? If it were me, I'd at least stockpile 10 special grades, hundreds of first grades, and tens of thousands of lesser curses before making a real scene. Still, impatience worked in his favor. Shinsuke had been eyeing Geto's curse collection for a long time. Now he'd finally get his chance to shear that sheep properly and harvest big. Master. You came too? Maki sliced down the surrounding weak curses and hurried over. Of course. I'm a teacher at Jujutsu High, it's only natural. And speaking of that, from now on, I'll be staying at the school more often. I'll be personally overseeing all of your taijutsu training. You'd better work hard, Maki. Mai's furious that you didn't tell her anything, she's already run off to Kyoto Jujutsu High. She swore she'd surpass you. Mai. Maki blinked, momentarily stunned. She's serious about that? No one knew Mai better than her. That's the situation, Shinsuke said simply. Shinsuke clapped Maki on the shoulder, then turned to Yuta and the others. Tomorrow morning, I'll be waiting for you all on the training field. Classes start then and won't stop until you're officially promoted to second years. With his salary tripled, he couldn't exactly keep slacking off, not when everyone's eyes were on him. Yes, sir, the students answered in unison. Gojo shot him a sideways glance. What's with you suddenly acting all responsible? Because that brat Geto's about to unleash the night parade of 100 demons. I'm thrilled. The words slipped out before Shinsuke could stop himself. A pay raise and a banquet of curses? Who wouldn't be happy? You. Gojo clenched his fists. He had only just begun to settle his feelings after his best friend's betrayal, and here was this bastard, smiling about it. I really can't hold back anymore. Zen'in Sensei still loves curses as much as ever, Kyusuke muttered with a sigh. To Shinsuke, the night parade really was something to look forward to. This man hasn't changed a bit, Mei added with her twin braids swaying as she shook her head. She used to think he only hunted strong curses because he needed the money. But after watching him long enough, she came to the same conclusion as Kyusuke. No, this man just enjoyed slaughtering powerful curses. It was his twisted little hobby. Enough, Principal Yaga cut in, glancing between Shinsuke and Gojo, who were about ready to brawl. You're both teachers. Don't tell me you're going to fight each other in front of the students? I'd never, Shinsuke replied smoothly. Gojo, you're getting old. Don't be so hot-headed all the time. Yeah. Fine. You're not hot-headed, happy? Gojo muttered, clicking his tongue. He regretted even starting the conversation. Every time he talked to this guy, it ended in frustration. I swear, I'll just keep my distance next time. Seeing the two men back down without a fight, the other teachers dispersed, preparing for the looming crisis of December 24th, the night parade of 100 demons. What a shame, Panda sighed. I thought we were finally going to witness the two strongest troublemakers throw down. Both Zen'in Shinsuke and Gojo Satoru were notorious at Jujutsu High, untouchable, uncontrollable, and unstoppable. Even the higher-ups couldn't do anything about them. Once the meeting broke apart, everyone returned to their own tasks. As for Shinsuke, he settled into one of the faculty dormitories at Jujutsu High. For now, this would be home. Chapter 47, Crash Course. The next morning, the first-year squad was already assembled at Jujutsu High's training grounds. Maki, Toji, and Yuta were running laps around the track to warm up, while Panda sat cross-legged on the grass, cheering them on. As Principal Yaga's creation, physical training meant nothing to him, he could only wait for their instructor to arrive. Looks like everyone's early. Before long, Zen'in Shinsuke appeared. He and Gojo had divided responsibilities, mornings for his taijutsu classes, afternoons for Gojo's jujutsu instruction. If Shinsuke had to take on more work, then Gojo sure as hell wasn't getting away scot-free either. Zen'in Sensei, you're here. Panda lumbered over. Shinsuke studied the bear's nearly human height, stroking his chin. You must be Yaga's masterpiece. Yeah. Principal Yaga created me, he's basically my dad, Panda said, scratching his head. Impressive work, Shinsuke mused. Creating a cursed corpse that could generate its own cursed energy, act with independent will, and even experience emotions, that was basically the power to create an army of sorcerers. He wondered, if you swapped out Suguragedo and put Yaga in his place, would the dream of eradicating all non-sorcerers actually be possible? Hard to say. But if those two ever teamed up, even Gojo might not be able to stop them. Clap, clap, clap. All right, enough jogging. Gather up, we're getting to the point. At his call, the first years stopped running and hurried over. Sensei, what are we doing today? Maki's eyes shone. Shinsuke often corrected her techniques, but he had never held a formal class for her before. He swept his gaze across the group, Toji, the lone heir of the Inumaki clan, Panda, the principal's child, Yuta, Gojo's relative, and Maki, his own disciple. Not a bad lineup. There's about a month left before Geto's night parade of 100 demons. Your job is simple, get stronger. From today on, every morning's lesson will be sparring against me. Only taijutsu. Though I'll be generous, you can use cursed energy and weapons if you like. Pairing taijutsu with cursed energy would help them attune to their bodies. Maybe, just maybe, someone might even grasp Black Flash. The students nodded. They'd known all along Zen'in Shinsuke was here to teach them physical combat. Only Maki pouted, she couldn't use cursed energy at all. Here's the deal, Shinsuke continued. If any of you can land one hit on me, class ends early. He raised one hand and crooked a finger, the other hand tucked behind his back. The message was clear, I'll only be using one arm. Sensei, Don't underestimate us. Maki lunged first, her long naginata thrusting straight for his chest. She'd never actually fought her master before, but she remembered watching him dismantle other sorcerers when she was younger. Sure, he was strong, but fighting one-handed? That felt insulting. Her blade thrust forward. Shinsuke only tilted his head slightly, raised 2 fingers, and flicked the steel. Clang! The strike rang out like a bell. Shockwaves jolted through Maki's hands, the force rattled her entire body, and her blade nearly flew from her grip. She staggered, fumbling to switch the weapon into her other hand, the first already numb. Pushing up her glasses, she steadied herself. Her face was grim, but her eyes burned with something close to madness. This is my master's strength. Will I ever reach this level? Stay sharp and work together, she shouted, charging in again. I'm in too! Panda barreled forward, his massive frame blurring with surprising agility. He had no special technique, his strongest asset had always been raw physicality. If anyone should test himself against Jujutsu High's so-called taijutsu master, it was him. Yuta and Toji exchanged a look, then rushed into flank. But in Shinsuke's eyes, their movements were no different than schoolchildren playfighting. Hell, even Gojo, if it was only hand-to-hand combat, wasn't much better than a grade schooler to him. Clang! Bam! An hour passed. The students were exhausted, drenched in sweat, but not a single blow had landed. Don't just flail around, Shinsuke chided. Use the fight to find your weaknesses. Be faster, sharper, deadlier. Don't hesitate. Aim for vital points. What, afraid of hurting me? Maki, you eat breakfast? Where's your strength? Yuta, you're supposed to be a special grade sorcerer. And yet your taijutsu is this pathetic? Planning to let Rika fight all your battles? He glanced at Panda and Toji. And you too, forget it. I'm probably expecting too much. Honestly, their flaws were endless. Numbers low, technique sloppy. He was going to be busy in the coming weeks. Rah! How dare you insult Yuta? A roar exploded behind Yuta, followed by a tidal wave of cursed energy. Rika materialized, thrashing with fury. Shinsuke's words had cut deep. How dare he suggest Yuta shouldn't rely on her? She would make sure Yuta depended on her strength. Rika, no! Calm down! Sensei only means well. Yuta pleaded. Yuta hurried to calm Rika, terrified she might actually start fighting their teacher. Yo, so she's a real Yandere, huh? Zen'in Shinsuke arched a brow at the raging curse, his fingers itching with anticipation. The sheer density of cursed energy pouring from her, if he killed her, how much blood essence could he harvest? Forget it. I am your teacher after all. I'll let it slide this time. But don't try that again. His gaze lingered on Rika, sharp and appraising. She might be a cursed form of a little girl, but to him she was nothing more than a walking treasure chest of experience points. Rika glared back. For a moment, the vertical eye embedded in her forehead remained open, trembling with murderous intent. Then, slowly, it closed, and her form melted back into Yuta's body. If not for Yuta's sake, she would have happily torn this smug bastard apart. How dare he look at her like that? Class ends here for today, Shinsuke finally announced. Rest up, reflect on your mistakes, and tomorrow we'll continue. Yes, Sensei. The students collapsed onto the grass in exhaustion. After being toyed with for over an hour, both their bodies and their spirits were battered. Clap, clap, clap. Gojo appeared beside Shinsuke, applauding with his usual grin. 1 hour from now, I'll be running your jujutsu training. Make good use of the break. The students groaned in despair. Since when had Jujutsu High become so serious? Wasn't this school supposed to be all about freedom and easygoing teaching? Where was the happy education Gojo had promised them? Of course, the truth was simple, Gojo had only gotten serious because Shinsuke had. Both teachers had the same philosophy in the end: so long as their students grew stronger, nothing else mattered. But for Maki and the others, that growth came at their expense. Chapter 48, Don't Steal My Prey. Under the grueling crash course schedule, the first years improved at a startling pace. Their physical skills sharpened, their grasp of cursed energy deepened, and even their understanding of techniques grew considerably. Of them all, Yuta's growth was the most explosive, his talent shone brightest, his strength skyrocketing. That's the difference with genius. They catch up to everyone else in a fraction of the time. In just under a year since entering Jujutsu High, Yuta, even without Rika, had already closed the gap with his peers. But now, a month later, Geto Sugiru's night parade of 100 demons had begun. As darkness fell, the skies over Tokyo's Shinjuku and Kyoto churned. From rooftops, alleys, and subway tunnels, waves of cursed spirits flooded the cities. On a deserted Shinjuku street, Yaga Mazamichi, Gojo Satoru, and Zen'in Shinsuke stood shoulder to shoulder, watching as hordes of curses prowled the neon-lit avenues. Around them, Geto's cultists gathered, eyes gleaming with malice. Classic bait and distract, Yaga muttered. Geto's real target is Yuta. It was obvious, Geto hadn't bothered hiding his intent. The army of curses wasn't to win here, it was to tie down the school's forces while he isolated Yuta, killed him, and stole Rika. The Rika extraction plan. Gojo's expression remained calm. Just as I thought. I've already sent Inumaki and Panda back. He knew exactly what Geto was after. That was why only the 4 first years remained at Jujutsu High. Perfect. He'd use Geto's scheme as fuel to drag out Yuta's hidden potential. And he was certain of one thing: Geto wouldn't kill the students. Shinsuke, however, wasn't listening. Geto won't let me walk out of here so easily, Gojo said, glancing up at the rooftop where Geto's people were staring him down. Hey, how about you cover me here, and I'll check on the kids? He looked at Shinsuke hopefully. Shinsuke arched a brow, lazily swung the wide-bladed split soul sword in his hand, and snorted. You really think that's happening? He'd borrowed this blade from Toji, capable of ignoring both physical hardness and cursed energy defense, just so he could harvest every grade 1 curse in Shinjuku, then head to Kyoto to do the same. With a weapon this efficient, his progress would skyrocket. Good luck, kid. I've got hunting to do. A blur of afterimages, and Shinsuke was gone, carving through the streets like a reaper, ignoring the fodder and heading straight for the highest value prey. No one steals a grade 1 or higher curse from him. Gojo stared at the empty space beside him. Figures. Can't count on him. Don't blame him, Yaga said dryly, cutting down a curse with one swing. People have their quirks. An obsession with slaying curses isn't the worst vice. Gojo sighed, flashing onto the rooftop. His gaze locked on the hulking dark-skinned sorcerer waiting there. Miguel. You again. The so-called elbow strike master from Shibuya tightened his grip on the cursed tool black rope, sweat prickling down his temple. His only job was to stall Gojo, and he knew he had to do it without engaging head-on. Ruer! A 10-story tall, red-furred curse lunged out of the shadows toward Gojo. Gojo raised his palm, cursed energy condensing into a crimson sphere that radiated annihilation. Out of my way. Reversal, red. The scarlet orb shot forward, only for a figure to leap overhead, blade flashing downward. Slash. The colossal curse split clean in two. Violet ichor geysered out, painting skyscrapers in dripping purple. The beast shrieked once before collapsing in halves, already dead. Gojo's red shot harmlessly passed, streaking into the distance. Shinsuke turned midair, smirking. Don't steal my prey, kid. And then he was gone again, nothing but a phantom reading through Shinjuku, a machine built for slaughter. Gojo pinched the bridge of his nose. This guy. He didn't even have the words anymore. Down below, other sorcerers were struck dumb. An entire grade 1, killed in one strike? Their jaws hung open. That was the level the veterans lived at. Across the city, the other Jujutsu high sorcerers were fighting hard, Nanami adjusting his tie between executions, Mei hefting her axe with calm precision, Kusakabe cutting down enemies left and right. Kinji Hikari and Kurara reveled in the chaos, while Amani Riko set up heavy artillery from inside a building. Everyone fought valiantly, except their curses kept disappearing. Every time, a shadow would flash by, and Shinsuke would clean up the target in a single stroke. "Sensei, kill stealing is bad manners," Mei muttered, doubling her pace. Her bounties were being snatched before her eyes, and this was supposed to be per curse, per payout. Kusakabe gawked, knuckles white on his sword. What the hell? He's doing this without cursed energy? Even chickens don't die this fast. Whether grade 1 or quasi-special grade, Shinsuke hadn't needed more than one swing on anything yet. Within minutes, he stood atop a high-rise, spotless, only his blade dripping violet gore. He clicked his tongue. TCH. That's it? Geto, you stingy bastard. Just a few dozen curses? Who was that supposed to satisfy? Feeling the boiling vitality surging in his body, Zen'in Shinsuke cracked his neck and glanced around, eyes locking on Kyoto's direction. If he went full speed now, he could still make it in time to kill more. He was close, so close, to breaking into the next stage of the 8 gates. He couldn't let this opportunity slip away. With a slight bend of his knees, he coiled like a spring, aimed toward Kyoto, and exploded forward. Boom! His body shot off like a bullet, the shockwave rattling windows as he leapt from rooftop to rooftop, vanishing into the night sky. The subway? Too slow. 2 hours minimum. Running there himself would be faster. What the? Don't tell me Shinsuke-sensei's actually heading to Kyoto? Kusakabe's eyes nearly bulged out as he watched the man's silhouette blur across the skyline before disappearing entirely. Seriously? Was Shinsuke-sensei murdered by curses in a past life or something? The man carried a grudge like no other. Thank God I'm not a curse, he muttered. In this era, for curses, Shinsuke wasn't just a sorcerer, he was a tyrant. Their living nightmare. What a lunatic, Nanami sighed, wiping violet ichor off his hand and adjusting his glasses. The man went feral the moment he sniffed out a strong curse. Meanwhile, back at Jujutsu High, Yuta was already locked in battle with Geto Suguru. With Rika at his side, he pressed against Geto, but the man fought back fiercely, wielding the special grade cursed tool Playful Cloud. His body flickered with polished martial arts, the weapon sweeping arcs of crushing force as he held Yuta and Rika at bay. And if you wondered how Playful Cloud ended up in his hands? One glance at the unconscious Maki lying nearby answered the question. She wasn't the only one down, Inumaki and Panda were sprawled out beside her. A month of intensive training had elevated all of them considerably, but against a former special grade sorcerer like Geto Suguru, they were still leagues behind. Chapter 49, Little Mai, be careful. I'll never forgive you. Yuta gripped his blade with both hands, cursed energy flaring across its edge. His eyes were sharp and unwavering. This man had dared to hurt his classmates, absolutely unforgivable. Forget all that nonsense about saving the world. Yuta just wanted a quiet life, to get along with his classmates and teachers. Nothing more. Ha 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 ha. Geto Suguru's laughter was low and wild. But that's not up to you. With a blur of motion, he swung Playful Cloud, crashing it down toward Yuta. Boom! Rika thrust her massive arm out, blocking the strike. Rah! I'll kill you. Together with Rika's cover, Yuta began to match Geto's tempo. Memories of the brutal month of training surfaced. Compared to that, Geto wasn't insurmountable. Not bad, Junior. You really are gifted. Geto acknowledged Yuta's potential, but his eyes held no fear. After all, he was a summoner by nature, and yet he'd been holding his own in close combat against Yuta and his monstrous partner. Listen, Yuta. The world as it is, broken. Wrong. Let's create a perfect one together. Geto's grin twisted, his words echoing with zealotry as he skillfully parried Rika's claws and Yuta's blade at once. Clang! With a surge of strength, he shoved them both back, forcing space between them. You'll never defeat me. In this entire school, only Satoru could ever hope to stand against me. His madness deepened, he would not rest until Rika was his. But Yuta Okatsu, warrior of pure love, began to shine. After countless exchanges, he grew sharper, attuning to his cursed energy, controlling it with greater finesse. His strength was climbing rapidly. He had awakened. In a flash, Yuta blurred forward, blade raised. So your speed's improved? Geto roared, slamming playful Cloud down, but Yuta's figure flickered behind him. Power surged into Yuta's blade, and with both hands he swung a horizontal slash charged with immense cursed energy. Crack! Boom! The ordinary weapon shattered under the overload, bursting into shards. Geto turned, sneering through a twisted expression. Channeling that much cursed energy at once? Any weapon would break. Didn't Satoru teach you this? Yuta froze for an instant, then leapt back. Of course Gojo hadn't. Gojo never used weapons himself. Why would he care? You have to feed cursed energy and gradually, little by. Bang! Before Geto could finish lecturing, Yuta's fist slammed into him. SZZZZT. Black and crimson lightning crackled violently, black flash. This boss fight had become a training session, and Yuta had not only learned cursed energy control in minutes, but had also landed his first black flash, thanks to Geto's unwilling tutelage. Geto flew backward, smashing into the rubble, groaning before dragging himself up. Blood streaked from his mouth. Wiping it away, his expression hardened. TCH, looks like playtime's over. If he stalled any longer, Miguel might not be able to keep Gojo occupied. Both sides braced themselves, the next exchange would end it. Meanwhile, at the Kyoto battlefield, teachers and students fought desperately against waves of curses. An old man hefted a guitar like a weapon, every strum unleashing a shockwave of cursed energy that shredded spirits in his path. He looked less like a sorcerer and more like a rock god, lost in the ecstasy of his performance. Yutaheim stood sheltered behind the front line, her technique amplifying her allies' strength. Such weak curses dare to invade the sacred grounds of Jujutsu? My Zenin sneered from a rooftop, sniping weak curses one after another with calm precision. Each bullet dropped another spirit. TCH, curses really aren't that scary. Why was I ever so afraid as a kid? Roar! Her arrogance nearly cost her. A massive curse erupted from beneath the ground, a one-eyed monk spirit, its body towering over the building, its neck adorned with a necklace of skulls. A grade 1 curse. My! Look out! Flying overhead on her broom, Nishimiya Momo shouted in alarm, unleashing a wave of cursed wind to try and divert the monster's attention. Miwa, Mekamaru, and even the hot-blooded Aoi Tadu noticed Mai's danger. Tadu was just about to activate his boogie-woogie technique to swap places with her. But in the very next instant, a figure blurred past the curse at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Slash! Before anyone could react, a calm voice rang out. Little Mai, you need to stay alert. Zen'in Shinsuke had arrived. Without pausing to chat or reunite, he gave his sister that single reminder before vanishing again, already diving headlong into the Kyoto battlefield, slaughtering curses at a terrifying pace. He couldn't afford to waste time. Someone else might steal his prey. Brother? Mai spun around, only to see the severed head of the grade 1 curse tumbling through the air. The purple ichor hadn't even finished spurting from its body before both the curse and her brother were gone. Mai, are you hurt? Nishimiya Momo swooped down from her broom, while the others rushed over to check her condition. I'm fine. That was definitely my brother. Why is he in Kyoto? Could it be he was worried about me? Mai's face lit with excitement, but a second later, her expression hardened. No. She had vowed not to forgive her sister or her brother until she defeated Maki. She had to hold on to that resolve. Brother? You mean the one from the Zen'in clan? Momo frowned. Mai had been at Kyoto Jujutsu High for a year, but she'd never once mentioned having such a terrifyingly strong older brother. That man is a teacher at Tokyo Jujutsu High, Tadu declared, eyes sharp. If I'm not mistaken, that was none other than the one they call the Curse Killer, Zen'in Shinsuke. You know my brother? Mai tilted her head, genuinely curious. All she really knew was that her brother was powerful and taught at Tokyo Jujutsu High. Beyond that, she'd never bothered to learn much. Tadu grinned confidently. Who doesn't know him? There are only a handful in the entire jujutsu world who don't. He couldn't help but wonder, though, what kind of woman would a man like that fall for? The Curse Killer. I've heard of him. Miwa gasped, realization dawning. The one famous for cutting down grade 1 curses and above, and there are even rumors he's exorcised special grades. So brother is really that famous? Mai muttered under her breath, brow furrowing. For all his strength, he'd never once looked down on her or Maki. For some reason, she didn't want the whole world to know about him. Hey! What's the meaning of this? Why is that guy here? Kyoto's principal, Yoshinobu Gakuganji, glared at Shinsuke, clearly annoyed. But Yutaheim popped up and waved cheerfully. Long time no see, Shinsuke-sensei. Shinsuke smiled faintly, gave her a nod, then turned his gaze to the grumpy old man. Without an ounce of restraint, he said, Listen, old man, I came all the way here from Tokyo to help you lot survive this mess. You'd better remember to thank me properly. And with that, he vanished again, already on the hunt. That bastard. Gakuganji ground his teeth. Just as infuriating as Satoru Gojo. Did Kyoto really need help from Tokyo? He made it sound like they couldn't handle the curses on their own. What a joke. He only came to feed his bloodlust, and yet he dressed it up like charity. Chapter 50, What Kind of Woman Do You Like? In just over 10 minutes, Zen'in Shinsuke had wiped out every grade 1 and above curse across Kyoto. He flicked the violet ichor off his blade and scanned the area. Looks like that's all of them. Only weaklings left. He admired the weight of the split soul katana in his hand, borrowed from Toji. Gotta hand it to that guy. This blade is perfect, 1 slash, 1 kill. Unfortunately, it wasn't his. Knowing how stingy Toji was, there was no way he'd ever part with such a treasure. Forget it. I already took playing Cloud off him once. Can't keep milking the little brother dry forever. Just then. Brother! Why are you in Kyoto? Shouldn't you be back in Tokyo, conspiring with my sister? Mai finally caught up with him. Her words were sharp, but the pout on her lips betrayed how badly she wanted to talk to him. Shinsuke chuckled. Conspiring? You really don't know how to choose your words. Humph. You always take her side anyway. Mai folded her arms and turned away. It was always like this, her sister and her brother, standing together, leaving her out. Maki is my disciple. Of course I'll side with her. What's this, Mai? Don't tell me you're jealous now? When did you turn into a little vinegar jar? Not only jealous of her sister, but jealous of her brother too. That was my right now. You! Her cheeks flushed red. So you admit it. You only care about her, you never cared about me. But instead of answering, Shinsuke casually pulled out his phone. Click. 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 He snapped photo after photo of Mai's puffed up cheeks. Not bad. I'll show these to Maki later. She'll get a kick out of them. Be brother! Mai shrieked, stomping the ground as she tried to snatch his phone. But with her short height, she couldn't even reach his hand. Enough already. You're not a kid anymore. He pocketed the phone and ruffled her hair roughly. So? How've you been in Kyoto? Anyone bullying you? Tell me, and I'll beat them black and blue. The only ones who bully me are you and Maki. Mai mumbled with her head lowered, hands twisting together, her cheeks burning. At that moment, Nishimiya Momo descended from her broom with a grin. Wow, my. So this is your brother? I can't believe you kept him a secret. To have such a handsome brother and never tell us. Soon, Taduawe and the others cleared the nearby curses and came over to greet him as well. Oi, old man. Tadu, shirtless as always, beamed with confidence. What kind of women do you like? Shinsuke ignored the blunt question for the moment, instead bowing slightly to the Kyoto students. I may have caused you some trouble these past months. If she ever makes mistakes, I hope you'll forgive her. Brother! Don't say it like that. I haven't caused anyone trouble. Foo. So I can get shy. I'd never seen that before. Momo covered her mouth, laughing softly. Momo! I'll kill you. Mai, scarlet-faced, lunged at her friend, chasing her across the rooftops. Ah, youth. So full of fire. Tadu sighed sentimentally. Then, eyes gleaming, he pressed again. But hey, old man, you didn't answer me. What kind of woman is your type? Shinsuke glanced at the hot-blooded disciple of Tsukumo Yuki. A smile tugged at his lips. You really want to know? Then ask your master. After all, if you asked what type he liked, there were plenty he could list. But if you asked who he loved, there was only one answer. I've got business back in Tokyo, so I'll take my leave. He cast one last look at Mai, still bickering with Momo, before vanishing into the night. Eh? He just left? I didn't even get his autograph. Miwa slumped with regret. She had two idols in the Jujutsu world, Gojo Satoru and Zen'in Shinsuke. Meeting one in person and not daring to ask for his signature felt like a colossal loss. Ask my master, huh? Tadu mused, grinning to himself. As expected of a man on the same level as her. Few knew of the true bond between Tsukumo Yuki and Zen'in Shinsuke, only the higher-ups, and Maki and Mai themselves. Taduawe would have been stunned if he knew the man he just asked that ridiculous question to, what kind of woman do you like? Was actually his own master's lover. Stunned not just because of the relationship, but because even his penny-pinching, perpetually broke master had somehow managed to find herself a man. Meanwhile, by the time Zen'in Shinsuke rushed back to Tokyo Jujutsu High, everything was already over. He was late to the party, the flowers had already wilted. On the empty stone path inside campus, Suguru Geto slumped against a wall, clutching the stump of his severed right arm. His breathing was ragged, his body broken. Gojo Satoru stood before him, expression unreadable. Geto, you guessed right, Gojo said calmly. I sent Inumaki and Panda back here to push Okatsu to his limits. I knew you wouldn't kill them. He looked down at his old friend, unsure what emotions he should be feeling in this moment. You saw through me. Geto gave a faint, almost peaceful smile. I hate monkeys, but I never hated the students of Jujutsu High. From the beginning, his hatred was never for them, it was always for the non-sorcerers. How pitiful you've become, Geto. A voice broke the silence. Shinsuke appeared, the split-soul katana slung casually over his shoulder, as if he'd just stopped by after work. After all the curses he'd stripped from Geto, it felt only right to at least show up for his last moments. Heh, you too? What, didn't get your fill yet? Geto looked up, meeting Shinsuke's eyes. Of all people, he hadn't expected this annoying bastard to be here at the end. Not quite, Shinsuke admitted without shame. How about it? Got a few more special grades to let loose? Be ashamed to waste them. It was blunt, greedy, but completely in character. You. Geto let out a bitter chuckle. I bet even curses have nightmares about you. Dreaming of the day you'll come to slaughter them. Too bad. I don't even have the strength left to release another. Otherwise, I'd hand them all over, just to spite you. Ah, well. Guess I'll have to wait until next time. Shinsuke patted Gojo's shoulder as he walked past him. Do it properly. Send him off right. With that, he sauntered deeper into the school, muttering about checking whether his student had been hurt. Gojo's jaw tightened. What an insufferable bastard, he muttered. Did Shinsuke really think he needed to be told what to do? He hated when people tried to tell him how to handle things, especially him. Ha ha ha. Despite the pain, Geto laughed weakly. Looks like I'm not the only one who can't stand him. In that moment, there was a strange sense of comfort. After all, wasn't it a kind of friendship, hating the same person together? That's the end of this tale for now. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in part 3. Peace.